Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner. I'm here with Sean Bell.
Hello.
Matt Murray.
Hello.
No James Farley this week, but we do have Sarah Dyer.
Hello.
Hi Sarah, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for joining us this week. Filling James's shoes. What does James's shoes feel like?
Roomy.
I was going to say, what size is he? I imagine he has big feet. I don't know why.
Feet, but
has he?
Usually stuffed with news. That's the thing. Usually that's where he keeps his news. You know what I mean?
Sort of clippings.
Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience? Let them know who you are and all that.
Yeah, of course. Yes, I'm Sarah. I am a community manager over at Splash Damage, and you also might have seen me on my old podcast now, Stick Twiddlers, and I'm also just generally talking nonsense on Twitter over at Pika Pies.
Wicked. Right.
You know, can I just ask, Pika Pies, is that what it sounds like? Is that pies with Pikachu meat in them?
No, not quite. So...
You just exposed yourself, Sean, as a weird Pokemon pie thinking man. Like, what are you thinking? What do you think? There's a bunch of different Pokemon pies out there.
So before Sarah answers, what do you think it means, Dave?
I don't know. It's just something fun to say, isn't it? I mean, my name, my Twitter name is just my name with an S on the end. I can't really comment on other people's. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but yours has caused plenty of controversy. Sorry, Sarah.
There is a story behind it.
Okay, go on.
So, do any of you remember the web flash movie Weeble and Bob?
Yeah.
The two little legs.
Yeah.
And they'd
Weeble and Bob.
They'd rock back and forth, and like one of them was obsessed with pie. This is like 2003.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I've just seen a picture. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet if I see a picture, I know what it is. Go on.
Yeah, 100%. But they had a forum, and it was like one of the first internet forums I joined. Probably shouldn't have been on it at the age I was on it, but you know. But they had loads of different. It was like the Weeble and Bob characters, but made into loads of different avatars. And there was one which was Pikachu, so that's where I got the Pika from. And then obviously because they would just talk about pie a lot, so that's where the pies bit comes from. And it's,
right,
and
so
it's
you're not far off, Sean.
Yeah, it's like a Pikachu.
I feel bad for having a go, you know.
It's a Pikachu that is a pie rather than a pie filled with Pikachu.
Okay. I can't imagine there's much meat on a Pikachu, to be fair.
I was about to say, what do you think it tastes like? Just electricity?
Okay, do you think it retains some of its powers after it's been baked? And every bite, you're just like, oh, fucking hell.
I reckon you're right. Right, should we get to the Full Nels crew? It's an exciting one because it's the first time we can read out the Full Nels crew on today, the Day of Freedom. That's right. We don't know what to do with all this freedom these days. I'm besides myself. What did you do with your first day of freedom, Sarah?
I worked.
Yeah, so did I.
Yep.
Sean, you at work as well?
Well, I've just had the house rewired, so I've just been like cleaning up and moving furniture around all day, and I feel like shit.
Matt, your first day of freedom on Big Freedom Day, what did you get out to?
I took Eddie to school and I stayed in working, which is this is how freedom should be spent.
I don't want to go into this too much, but remember when we first all started talking about this, and I was like, do you know the best thing about this? Once it's over and it's done with, we can all go out and it's just going to be like one mad street party. Like everyone's going to go mad. It's going to be amazing. Well, the day's finally here, and I spent the day going to work and worrying about COVID still. So I don't think much has actually changed. Anyway, let's cheer ourselves up with the Full Nels crew, shall we? They are the Patreon producers this month. They are Aaron Patrick, Simon Nelson, Tom S, Jack Oven, Moomin Biscuit, Dave Ernsberger, Colin Brown, Gasman, Gabby Pereira, Graham Mackay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Man, Rocketman 76, and my dog Skip. Thank you so much for your support this month, and if you would like to support the show, then please go to patreon.com/TCGS. Various different tiers, isn't there, Matt?
There's so many tiers.
You put all the tiers out there, and you're like, come and have a look at our tiers. Pick one if you want. You know, you could take one. You don't have to take one, but you're free to come and play in this park. That's the quote, isn't it, Matt?
You can do what you want as long as you give us money to enter the park. It's a standard park in that regard. We need to do our Patreon stuff, and I'm trying to remember if we agreed on a date, but we are doing our Patreon talk over and a podcast.
Yeah. You suggested last weekend, and James said, "Well, no, I'm in." So I can't do that.
Don't give it away. He doesn't want. He's looking forward to people not knowing where he lives.
Oh right, and okay. You're gonna have to bleep that then, Matt.
Oh, for Christ's sake! Not this again. Okay, sure.
I forgot about the people. They're gonna find out, Sean. The listeners are gonna find out. You know they are.
That's true.
They're gonna.
And we've only narrowed it down to the country. I think. Yeah.
Mark
We've already had one listener contact saying, "I'll follow him." So I'm assuming they're not the only one.
Yeah.
Right, should we get to feedback on last week's show, Matt? Let's
go. We're going to start with Darren Gargett. Can I offer you an alternative to the overused phrase spec bump? Spec bump, Jesus.
Sorry, spec bump?
Yeah.
Is that the earliest we've ever had an episode title,
yeah,
Sean?
Yeah.
I think it might be, right?
Yeah.
In the last show, so this is Darren's alternative to a spec bump, and that's just simply upgrade. But I think he's saying that we're downplaying the spec bump. That actually the Switch OLED is an upgrade, which technically it is.
Yeah.
But we're like, it's just a spec bump. Well, that's still an upgrade.
I think upgrade makes more sense if you're talking about the Switch OLED, right?
Well, but this is the thing, isn't it? Because we were differentiating between like what the Switch OLED is versus what we'd imagined we were getting. And I think the point we were making is that so technically it is an upgrade, but it's not a spec bump, right? I think that was the point we were making.
I think that was it. But I mean, if I was looking at that and saying what phrase should be used for the OLED version, I would say piss take, Sean. I wouldn't say spec bump or upgrade. Let's go with piss take. Okay. I think it's the route I'm going down. But no, that's not what he's saying, though, is it? He's just saying that the phrase spec bump is overused and we should use upgrade instead, isn't he?
Because wasn't it upgrade didn't sound fancy enough, so people started saying spec bump to sound smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So maybe, maybe we should use upgrade instead, but you know what we're like, we want to try and sound smarter, so I think we're going to stick with spec bump.
Any help we can get to sound intelligent, we'll take it.
What did you say, Max? Spec bunk.
Spec bunk.
Spec bunk. It's definitely a spec bunk.
Let's
it's
go with
an upgrade. It's a spec bunk.
Let's use that going forward, I reckon. Sounds good to me.
Wyclef Sean has emailed in feedback. Nice. Sup, TCGS cohorts. You've speculated about the next GTA game a few times recently, and it's always drifted around to whether people would want another 80s themed game or something more modern. Probably worth mentioning that now we are further from the 80s themed GTA Vice City 2002 than Vice City was from the 80s by quite a lot. Enjoy feeling out.
Cheers, Wyclef.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? You read that stuff and you say, well, right, okay, so if we were to do the same thing now, so what are we saying, like 20 years? 15 years ago? What are we saying?
Yeah, 20 years, yeah. We're not going to do a GTA around 2002. What would that even be about?
That's what I'm saying.
Spliffy G.
You look at the 80s. You look at the 50s. You've got a classic style there, certainly in America. Then the 60s, 70s, 80s. And then when it gets to like 90s, okay, there's sort of a theme there. It's not as interesting at the others. Then you get to the 2000s and you're like, well, it's nothing, is it? Everyone's just wearing polo shirts and jeans, right? That's not exactly
I'd be quite into Rockstar, like, having the balls to be like, because everyone thinks that the early 2000s was just completely devoid of pop culture, and then them just coming in and being like, yeah, we're going to set our game there. I would admire it.
When did The Wire start? That was around then, right?
Where are you going with this?
They'll have to put a Wire reference in there, would they, Sean? That's about as good as it gets for that.
Yeah.
Did you see the screenshots that supposedly leaked today?
No.
Of what?
Well, of GTA.
Of the year 2002?
6. That sounds really weird. Of the next GTA. And I mean, I don't think I believe them. I think it's all rubbish. But when you looked at it, if they are legit, then they're certainly not going down a more serious route. There was like the whale's hole, and there was like a Bob's finger food and all this sort of stuff, and it was all like, trust me, you've got to look at this map of this amusement park that's supposed to be in this new setting, and you look at the names of them and go, oh, no, they're going to still go down that route of the parody names and puns and stuff. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't.
Because
after playing Red Dead Redemption 2, you're kind of like, you can do something here, like totally different.
Because that's an element of like GTA humour. Even by GTA 4 was a bit like, come on, guys. GT James,
I get you.
Come on.
Do you ever look at yourself though and just think, is that the game becoming a bit stale, or that humour becoming a bit stale, or is that me getting older? Like, I'm trying to work out where that sits with me now.
No, I want something serious. Something serious. I'm sure whatever GTA does, it'll be great. And, you know, whether it's parodying culture or not, I'm sure it'll still be good. But I want to flip it and go serious. Definitely. But they can still have, like, some silly stuff on like, you know, certain missions or certain kind of radio stations or whatever. There's still stuff they can lean into, or maybe different parts of the country, who knows. But I think it might be more impactful to have it played totally straight, personally, but that's just me.
Sarah, have you played much GTA?
I haven't.
Really?
Yeah, I have never played one for more than about an hour. I tried getting into GTA 5 for GTA Online, because like you can't stop playing. You can't start playing GTA Online until you get a certain way.
Oh, that's right.
The story.
Yeah.
Got to the first bit where the cops start chasing you, and I don't do well with it. I can't drive in those games. Like racing games, I'm not that bad at, but for some reason with GTA, I just can't deal with it.
They have got a very like distinct driving style of those games, haven't they? It's weird. It's way more twitchy than you think it's going to be. But then, saying that, I've played other games that try and emulate the racing sort of feel, like say Forza Horizon in an open world sort of action game, and it just never feels quite right. I can't think of an example where that's felt good. The only ones that I've really enjoyed driving in are either GTA or the Mafia games weren't too bad, although if you broke the speed limit in those games, you had the police after you. But I don't know, man. I don't know where they go from here, but by the sounds of it, it's years away, so I don't think we need to worry about it too much.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen his leaked screenshots, but I'm just going to say they're probably bullshit. I mean, you don't get many leaks from Rockstar, and I feel like we're so far away from it. It's very easy to
bullshit,
fake something. Yeah.
Did the map?
Okay, cool. All right.
Did the map for 5 not launch? Not leak. Sorry.
Oh, did it?
What?
The map for 5 leaked, didn't it?
Oh, did it really?
But wasn't
I
it
don't
like?
remember, you know.
Wasn't it just like a couple
of days? I think you might be right, actually. I do remember seeing an image, and because once they leaked that, wasn't there a bunch of like comparison images where it was like, this is the leaked GTA 5 map, and we've scaled it compared to GTA 4 and all that
it was like
sort
the
of stuff.
size comparison stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't believe Sarah will come onto this podcast and mug me off in the first 12 minutes.
It's not a hard thing to do.
I don't think there's been any leaks. Actually, I think you find there was a massive leak. Man.
I was given explicit permission to tear in as much as I'd like to.
Unbelievable.
I thought you'd warm up by going for James first because he's not here.
Well, that's the thing, because he's not here. I've never really spoken to him, so I'd feel a bit unfair.
Don't worry about that.
He's not able to defend himself.
No, don't worry about that stuff. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Hold on, let me just check. I'll just text him to see if he's all right with it. Yeah, he says it's totally fine. Please feel free to mug James Farley off as much as you want. Should we get on to the next one, Matt?
Yeah, Mitchy Mitch. Hey guys, great show last week, although I did have to walk out of my local Tesco Express empty-handed on Wednesday while I listened to the podcast, as a theme tune to Farley's Fantasy Zone filled my ears. I felt an uncontrollable ball of laughter building in my stomach, and I had to get out of there before making a scene. We had some other people mentioning that they very much enjoyed the FFZ theme tune. I think it's a shame we won't be here this week, but
it's one of the best things I've ever heard. And if you there was a few people saying that they were frustrated that we were talking all over it. If you go to the end of the last episode, the full jingle is there, like without us talking over it. So go back and listen, because you probably turned off during Matt's social bit. But right at the end, after the music, there's the full jingle there. So definitely check that out. And we'll be hearing it more. Don't worry about those GTA leaks. Would have been in Farley's Fantasy Zone. You know what I mean? He's got plenty of rumours to report on, so we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, we're going to go next with Rogie. Well done on 2 cracking streams last week. I thought the Fun Candy Talks Over was going to be hard to beat, but the Operation Tango stream was one of the funniest things I've seen in ages. Mr. David Turner showing he's nominating for a Saint-like Patience Award. I'm assuming that having 2 young boys around the house throughout lockdown has meant that David has a high tolerance for nonsense of all kinds. The cut back in moment brought back such happy memories of trying to get my 75-year-old mum to download Zoom remotely. Please keep up the last week, needed more than ever. Appreciate y'all.
Cheers, Raji. I would say that I wasn't patient at all with him. I was awful. When I watched that back, literally the first thing he got wrong, I was shouting at him down the microphone. So I wouldn't say I was patient with him. But yeah, I'll talk about that game a little bit later. But we should talk about the Fun Candy stream we did last week. If you haven't seen it, the full thing's on YouTube. You know, you should have, if you're subscribed to the podcast feed, you would have got the audio version of it. But what an experience that was to you know, it's one of those things that I've wanted to do for years and years and years. And you go into it praying that it's going to go well. And after it had finished, I thought that couldn't have gone better. It was so much fun to do. And Ian was brilliant about the whole thing. You know, he didn't really want to do it because he doesn't like looking back on his work, but my word, it was such an experience to sit there and watch that documentary with him and pick it apart and get these stories out of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
So the full thing's on our YouTube channel. Definitely check that out. But send Ian tweets and stuff and let him know that you liked it because oh god, it was just so good. So much fun to do. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been saying "don't" over and over again all week.
Yeah.
Harry's been saying it. We've all been saying it. Did you see any of this, Sarah?
I did. Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
You see him beat Miyamoto?
Yes.
It's just one of my favourite moments. It was so good.
It's amazing that you said he didn't really want to do it because he looked like he was having the most fun doing it.
Oh, yeah.
He loved it.
Yeah. You know, he said he absolutely loved it, and he wants to do. We've definitely going to do some more stuff later down the line. But he was brilliant throughout. Some of the stories he was coming out with was just absolutely wonderful. Exactly what I was hoping for. So that was really good fun to do. And everyone that's been in contact about it have said they loved it. So thanks for letting us know. It's been really cool.
Cool. Tony Matheson, I'm writing a response to Simon Nelson's lovely email praising the show. I'd like to put him up on one comment. He said, I'd like to say, and I'm sure all the listeners would agree, Mr. Nelson did definitely not speak for me, and I'm sure all the listeners will agree. That's from Tony. Yeah, I mean, Simon Nelson went too far there to say all the listeners would agree with him.
Yeah,
I think just because he's full Nelson, he can talk for everyone. I don't know. I think
absolutely. Well, no,
I
agree with that.
Is that how it works?
100%. Okay. Who's Tony? Who's Tony to come along and say that about a full Nels member? I'm not having that. So can we block his IP? Can we do that? Is that possible, Matt?
Yes, block now. That's
Did you regret getting rid of your mechanical keyboard for a moment? A little bit like, that would have sounded so much better.
Which is low profile, David. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Tony Mattison's now gone. Or Masterson. I mean, it doesn't matter what his surname is, he's gone. And I do apologise.
Tonys have now been banned from listening.
Yeah, it's just easy to do it that way, isn't it? Tiny Tim is next. Dear sirs, how dare you? I checked out the Funky Kong ASMR video after your chat last week. I know you specified not allowing children to listen to the clip, but as an 11-year-old footballer, I didn't find it offensive at all and was rather charmed by his constant chewing. What I did find repulsive was Funky Kong's behaviour within Tropical Freeze. I had to get more funky in my life, so I played the game. When I finally entered his shop to buy extra red balloons, I saw him do the wanker sign during his idol animation. Absolutely disgusting. I love the show, but please give your younger listeners a warning about deviant characters in games, not just saucy ASMR videos. Thanks.
Look, are we just taking Tiny Tim's word for this?
Yeah.
He does the... Okay, sure, fair enough.
Surely this would have been a meme or something if it was real.
I mean, I'm not Googling it.
No.
Who's going to take one for that, Sean? You're a big Funky Kong fan, aren't you? Can you Google?
I mean, I am, but not
Funky
that.
Kong
Not that
wanking,
sort of,
please.
No.
Oh God, definitely don't Google that.
Because the worst fear is that it will actually come up with another ASMR video.
that you'll bang into.
Yeah, and I'll just be like, I'll give it a go, actually.
Yeah, right. Well, that's me in the rabbit hole for the week. All right. Okay.
Capone Adam, hearing last week that you have a listener from Rockstar Games brought back a horrible memory when I was first desperately trying to get my foot into the door of the games industry. It would have been around 2004 where I sent the studio a box with my CV, a portfolio and a CD showreel. At this time, Rockstar North was my most desired studio to be at, so I really wanted my application to stand out. My tactic for this is something that makes me cringe every time I think about it.
I can't wait.
I had a PS2 controller that was broken, so I smashed it up with a hammer. I laid the broken controller on top of my application, portfolio and CD demo reel within the box. I then placed a piece of paper on top and wrote the following words on it. I'm passionate about gaming.
Oh no!
I think the idea I wanted to get across was that I'm so invested in playing games, I end up battering my game controllers too intensely. Something like that. In hindsight, it makes no sense at all, and I must have seemed really odd, possibly even threatening. I don't know what I was thinking. I never heard back from them.
I mean, Adam, was this note, was it written with newspaper clippings by any chance?
Yeah. Or was it written in blood?
Yeah, no, I'm imagining crayon. Like, that's what a bit of Crayola on there.
But that really scratchy, repeated drawing with like with a biro, and you just kind of write the same thing over and over again. It's always like in someone's crazed journal or something.
I'm passionate about gaming.
One of the words is definitely crossed out. Yeah, for sure. Well, seeing as we've got a listener who works for Rockstar, and if you want to message in discreetly, I think you can send a DM to Sean or something. He's very private with stuff like that. I'm not. I tell everyone, don't do it to me. But ask around the offices, Rockstar, and say, do you remember? Was there ever a story floating about? Is there a legend of a guy sending in a smashed up controller in a job application? Is that because I bet people still talk about that? To this
just talk to HR.
Right?
HR boy got that in the office still. Like, look at this. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
This guy, this person.
Oh, you're talking about Capone Adam? Yeah, he's on the red list. Actually, went to the police about it in the end. Wow. Okay. Capone, if you've got any other stories like that about how you tried to get jobs, then please do
please send them over.
Send us some more, because I'd love to hear some.
I'm passionate about gaming.
When do you think he? Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I kind of want to know what other people would send game studios. What thing could you think that you're sending them to show how passionate you are about the games that they make, but to them it'll just seem really vaguely threatening?
Yeah, like my thumbs.
Yeah.
It's not worth gaming. It's not worth gaming unless I'm working with you and I send them my thumbs in a jiffy bag.
I don't need these anymore unless you hire me. Well, because you do see this, like obviously this won't be exclusive to like games companies, but I've seen, where they're like, oh, if you're applying, like, do anything you want that you think will make you stand out. And it's like, no.
There's limits, isn't
there?
Here's
my CV on one side of A4 and a covering letter. That's all you...
Yeah, but haven't you, like... I was thinking about this the other day, right? The worst question on a CV, or worst bit of a CV to fill out, is personal interests, right? What do you put there? Like, what... Because you don't want to... Because we're into... I don't want to put podcasting. I've got a podcast. Like, I don't want to put that on there. Even though, I'm not ashamed of it or anything, but like putting that on a CV is a bit...
But if you're trying to get into games...
Well, exactly, and you can't be like, I do a podcast, but it makes money, actually. It's quite...
God, hold on. You're absolutely right. If I was going for a job in the games industry, then I would absolutely put that on there. But I'm talking about, like, in my life, I'm very me-focused, Matt. I don't know if you've noticed, but...
just say I love walking, going to the gym, and I'm a news junkie. And I love movies. I love
films.
Yeah, I love films.
Movies.
Yeah.
So easy, isn't it?
See my friends and movies. Bloody hell.
Oh, I really like learning, actually. I don't really have much time to myself, so I just work all the time, actually. Please hire me.
I'm very passionate about gaming. Just incredibly passionate about it.
Yeah, what if it's just 2 words? Tightrope. What if that was on there? Would you hire it? I would. Yeah, if it's personal interest, tightrope. That's it. Unicycle. You'd get him in for an interview, wouldn't you, just to see? You'd be getting the string out and putting it one side of the office to the other.
String? I mean, if they're doing string, they're pretty impressive.
Well, you never know. They might be good at it, Matt.
Or they could be really small.
Never judge a book by their CV. All right.
No, I've always said that, yeah. That is it for feedback. If you want to leave us feedback, you go to tcgs.co/deartcgs.
Cool. James Farley's not here for the news. So, Sean was saying all day, well, I'm going to show you how it's done, actually. I'm going to show you how it's done tonight.
Just fucking
we always have a pop at James, but just watch me. I'm the golden star example, mate. So go on, Sean.
That's what I always say about myself.
Let's hear it.
I'm the golden star example.
I always say to you that you're too arrogant. Like I do bring that up a lot. Maybe you need to rein it in, Sean. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Nah. Valve have announced the Steam Deck, which basically it's a little PC that you hold in your hands. It's like a Switch, but with some weird touch panels on it, and it looks kind of ugly. But I'm sort of weirdly excited about it.
It looks kind of ugly, but I'm a man with a Hori Split Pad Pro on my Switch. So,
makes no odds, really.
It's an upgrade.
We've talked about this previously, haven't we? Because there have been rumours.
Yeah, there's been rumours, there's been like patents and stuff. It's called like Steam Pal, whatever it was, code name before.
Steam Pal, why didn't they go with that? What a great name. But yeah, and I've said previously, like, well, this already exists, right? There are devices like this that are knocking around, but they're all about 800 quid plus, whereas the cheapest Steam Deck starts at £349. However, that's with only 64 gig of storage.
Not a problem.
Well, this is what's interesting, isn't it? So there's going to be others. There's going to be a 250 gig one at £459, and there's going to be a 512 gig one at £569, although the latter two won't be available until like the second half of next year, whereas the 64 gig one will be available earlier.
They're all supposed to be available in December, but sales or pre-orders have gone crazy. So you're now waiting a fair few months afterwards.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's sort of, by even offering the 64 gig one, there's no other difference in spec, by the way, between these. They're all powerful.
The difference is it's a slower. The 64 gig is a slower one. Whereas
slow storage, isn't it?
The other two.
In terms of the processor and everything else, are the same.
Power and graphics the same, yeah.
Yeah,
but it's also important to note that they've all got SD card slots, right?
Yes.
So, we were only talking last week about how bad the storage is in a Switch, but we've all got 250 gig SD cards stuck in it. So I think I can't see a downside to this. No. I really can't. I looked at it and I thought this is really good, but at the same time, I'm going to hold off a bit, and I don't know why. I don't know what's holding me back.
Well, to me, the big question mark is, for one, Valve haven't got a very good track record of supporting their hardware, right? Like Steam Link, and I don't know how the Index is doing, their VR headset, but there's the Steam controller as well, which apparently was
the Valve Index is constantly in like the top selling charts, but the top selling charts are by revenue, so obviously it's got pretty good head start being a grand. But since Alex came out, it's been in the top selling charts. Yeah, it's always there, and they're hard to get hold of a while back.
Yeah, it's
but my question is. Do they need to offer support to it? Like, what support do they need to do? Isn't it literally just a handheld PC? So surely it's just software updates that you would update on any Steam device.
Well, I suppose the question is it big enough that developers will bother making sure stuff runs on it, right? Because obviously, it's pretty well spec'd, and they've shown footage of it running, like Control and what's it called? Star Wars
Fallen Order.
Yes, Fallen Order. Yeah, thank you. And running those really well. But yeah, broadly speaking, obviously it's not going to be as powerful as like a good PC. I think they said in terms of spec, it's quote comparable to a gaming laptop with the ability to run the latest AAA games. But
that's pretty good.
It does sound pretty good. It's handheld, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think, Sean, think people are going to buy this thinking future AAA games is what I want to play on this thing.
No, true.
You think a huge part of Steam are the sort of indie, I'm banging to my indie games. I love them, right? And Steam is a good platform for them, even though it is, it's got so much stuff on there, it's hard to pick through.
Yeah.
But it's still a very decent play. You know, when a game like Disco Elysium came along, it was I had no way of playing it until GeForce Now launched, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with this thing, that's the exact sort of game that I can play on it. It's not going to put too much pressure on what's inside. And there's still going to be games coming out of that sort of level, the amount of power it needs to run. They're still going to be coming out for years and years to come. So, and then when you're looking, you know, everyone obviously switched over to the Switch for indie gaming at one point. Not everyone, but, you know, a big audience moved over to there. But you would look at how the games were priced on the Switch and looked at the same game on Steam for, you know, and the price was just not comparable. It was ridiculous. So this kind of totally makes sense to me.
Yeah,
like,
and the
for
fact
what I would use it for.
Yeah, the fact that they are offering that 64 gig one is, basically saying right off the bat, like, we know some of you aren't going to play fucking Cyberpunk on this. Like, and that's fine. Like, that's totally valid. And yeah, like, similarly, so like Chicory, for example, I still really want to play it, but I've got the PC version, and I just, like, we've talked before about that barrier of, like, if you've got a game that's only on PC, it's just when you sit down in the evening and you're deciding what to play, that tiny bit of extra faff of playing something on the PC and looking at, looking at the same screen that I've been working on all day is not that enticing. Whereas if I had one of these, I'd have finished Chicory 5 times over by now. So yeah, I'm well interested.
Yeah.
Does
Sarah,
look horrible though. Does look horrible.
Oh god, yeah, it's so ugly. It looks awful. It just looks far. It looks. I've got fairly small hands anyway, and I feel like if you're someone who has the size hands that struggled with, like, you remember the original Xbox controllers?
Yeah,
like
Duke.
Yeah, you're gonna struggle with this thing. Like, it just looks way too big and bulky. I don't really play enough PC games. Like, I get why people like it. I get why people are, like, really excited by it. But for me, I'm like, I've already decided my novelty handheld pre-order for July is probably going to go on the Playdate.
Same.
Yeah, that's.
Are you getting a play? Are you guys getting a Playdate?
I think so.
I'm going to try
I
to.
really want it. It looks amazing, and like the dock looks amazing, and even
I'm not going all in. I'm not getting the dock and stuff, but.
Oh no!
You know what Matt's like.
I want the dock and the pen. I just love the novelty of it being an actual ink pen. It's not like a stylus for a touch screen. It's just a pen.
There's gonna be one of those ones that someone in the office comes around and say, "Can I borrow a pen?" Nope.
Nope.
Well, there's one just there.
Nope.
Not having that one. No,
it's special and it's mine.
Yeah, I just don't know why I haven't pre-ordered yet. I think, obviously money worries further down the line. We don't know what's going to be happening. So, but I can cancel. So that's stupid as well. And it does feel like I've missed the boat now because all the launch consoles have gone, right? People are being quoted,
so it's
Q1 2022 already.
Yeah, well into next year for the larger two ones.
So by that point, I'm thinking, let's just see what comes of it. Like if it is decent or whatever.
Yeah. We should also note. So they've been very open about the fact that you can install whatever you want on it. So it is running like a new version of SteamOS, but it's got this weird tech that we talked about. I know Athene got in touch a couple of months back about this thing that Valve have that basically allows Linux to run Windows games. So it's going to be using that. And also there's a dock for it that then allows you to output to a TV and plug in other USB devices.
Although that's not available yet. They've not finished designing that.
But they also said you could use, and they also said you can use any kind of powered USB dock. I mean, that is a problem in itself because you've got to find the right one and one that works. But yeah, the fact that they're saying, this is open, you can install Windows on it, you can install the Epic Game Store, whatever you want, you can install like itch, you can use any dock you want. It's pretty cool in that regard.
It's meant to be quite heavy, and the two main negatives I've seen about the thing so far, I remember we've only seen very specific marketing based around this at the moment, but the two main sort of downsides I've seen that it's quite weighty, a lot heavier than, say, the Switch. And the battery life varies. They quoted between 2 and 8 hours, depending on what you're playing.
If it's like 60 frames, it's going to be a 2-hour one. If it's like a 30-frame game, it'll last longer, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so it's yeah, I think I'm going to hold back to see what it's like. And, you know, part of me hopes it fails miserably because we know what Steam are like. They release something, and if it doesn't hit, they go, how about £3 for it then? What do you reckon? We've got a few. Do you want for £3? And I'll be one of those. Yeah, all right then. Why not? But we'll see. We'll see. It's very exciting to see this be announced.
Yeah, it's amazing someone else coming out and, you know, with a new. I mean, new handhelds are exciting, and this looks like a really compelling device. I mean, as Sarah said, I don't quite know why the buttons look like they're all trying to escape the device, but yeah, it looks good. And I mean, not that it's real indication, but everyone on my friends list on Steam, it said they like pre-ordered it. And I guess unlike standard pre-orders, you had to like actually put money down because they wanted to kind of stop scalpers by taking some money off you. I think it's like £4 or £5 if you wanted to pre-order, and also your account had to be a certain age. Yeah, and you had to, or had to be old enough in some regard. You had to have bought games in the last month, so they tried to do whatever they can to stop scalpers. So, but even so, loads of people, my friends, just had got one.
My guess is if you're at a point where you're scalping using bots and stuff, then you've probably got Steam account, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a wrong thing to assume, but I don't see how that works.
Speaking about the buttons, I like the fact there's a couple of triggers on the back. A little bit like the Xbox Elite.
Yeah, there's like 4 extra buttons on the back, isn't there?
That's quite cool.
They had to do that, right?
Yeah, and then you can use either the trackpads or the sticks as well. So, and the trackpads, on Steam on Index controllers are fine. They do a job. I never got to use a Steam controller, but they say they've done lots of learnings from developing a Steam controller, and it looks pretty mad. I mean, the device looks mad when you look at it, but I guess I'm not going to be using both stick and touchpad and D-pad at the same time. Yeah. But it looks like they've just given us so many controls.
You're not elite enough. Is that what you're saying? You're not a hardcore gamer, Matt.
I'm not esports enough for that.
Finally admitted
those things.
Because it looks like, wow, you've literally given me like 1,000 control systems, which is good. I mean, like, it gives people options, but yeah, it's a fascinating device. I've put a pre-order down because, you know, might as well.
You're Matt Murray.
I was going to say.
No. I don't know if I really have room for this in my life, but I thought, well, I wasn't actually going to. Now everyone else was doing it. I was like, fucking hell.
Well, it only cost you £350 to find out.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
He's put a pre-order down for the Switch OLED edition, despite last week everyone saying there was no point in buying one, and the fact that Matt barely plays his Switch. So
that isn't true. The second one isn't true, and the first one, you know, it doesn't hurt just to put it down, and I'll think about it close to time. I don't get why you wouldn't just pre-order now and decide later.
Because we've already all agreed that we don't need one.
Like, what if I decide later? I'm like, oh, you know, I would love one now. No, I can't because they're sold out. So yeah, pre-order now. You got 6 months to decide.
All right. Okay.
Stupid not to. Anyway, Steam Deck. Yeah, it looks pretty wild. I'm fascinated to see. Did
you see? Just on a separate note, did you see that Elgato announced a new Stream Deck on the same day? How gutted would you be?
I knew Elgato was going to make loads of announcements because they've been teasing it for a while. And I was like, hang on, so Steam Deck's just been announced on the day that Elgato go do something, and yeah, but the new Stream Deck, it's just got like you can change the faceplates, and it's got a detachable USB cable, so it's not a huge upgrade. But they also announced loads of other things like a new webcam and all sorts of stuff.
You pre-ordered it, Matt?
No, I've got a Stream Deck, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, well, you got a Switch, but
I'm not gonna get. No, I'm not gonna get a new one just for replaceable faceplates. Well, maybe I will.
Anything else on this thing?
It's interesting. Like, I've seen people saying, but what about Steam machines? Why is this different? Well, because it's just one device with one spec and a decent price, which is all the things that Steam machines were missing. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. And like,
the thing with Steam machines is that Valve created like a plan for other people to make Steam machines, and it didn't really didn't do enough. I mean, I feel like products like the Steam Link people loved, but then they discontinued that, and people are still using it now, but they've gone really cheap. The controller as well is a nice experiment, but yeah, I think you're right. The fact this is one product, it's and they can afford to investigate. They can afford to spend some money to see how it works. They got Steam and a lot of hats that people buy. So it's going to be really interesting.
A lot of hats.
Well, they've got a lot of money, so they can take a punt on this. Is what I'm saying.
Well, I will say this: it's hilarious if you watch the interview that IGN did. It's a video interview. It's on their thing. I don't think I need to plug them, but there you go. There's this great interview where they're asking frequently asked questions, and it was hilarious the answers that were coming back because the people that worked on the Steam Deck looked surprised to even be asked and didn't quite understand why this was a big deal, and the person asking the questions was like, "What?" Because they were going, "So has it got can you use Bluetooth headphones?" Yeah. Of course you can, yeah. And will it work with other controllers? Yeah, just like any Bluetooth controller works with it. And they're like, what? Do you know what we've had to go through with Nintendo? But I've seen a lot of comments out there on Twitter and stuff about this, and how this is a Switch beta, and why would anyone get the Switch if this is available and stuff. And I think
this is the real Switch Pro, that kind of stuff. That's
all nonsense, isn't it? It's absolute nonsense, because at the end of the day, Nintendo have got Nintendo games, so that's, you can't really compare. I'm not saying that the Switch is better because of that, but what I'm saying is that that's a very different audience there.
Oh, yeah.
If the Switch 2 was announced tomorrow, I would have a pre-order, and as much as I like the look of the Steam Deck, I haven't pre-ordered it. So I think that says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. Like, if there was an actual Switch Pro, then that would have been instant pre-order. Whereas the Steam Deck, I'm like, it's cool, but I wouldn't use it.
Yeah, that's my concern, I think.
You see, because I've had a Steam library for fucking 2 decades or whatever.
Show off.
I'm just like, no. I know I'll have tons of stuff to play on this, but I can understand, if you've not been much of a Steam user previously, that's I've seen people saying, technically this is going to launch with, the best library ever. It's that's cheating. Can't say that. It doesn't count.
Sean is the referee of the console wars world. I don't know if you've noticed.
That's a yellow.
Excuse me, not so fast there. We're going to discount.
A couple of things about this. Do you think? I mean, we're never going to know, but do you think this is going to push Nintendo in any way to do different things?
No.
What do you mean we're never going to know?
I mean, you're assuming
we know the exact answer to that. They won't even look at it.
I don't think anything pushes Nintendo to do anything different. They do what they do, and don't really care what anyone else does. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
They're like, hang on, you can use wireless headphones. What? Who are these people?
Yeah, you see someone going into the office at Nintendo going, "Have you seen this Steam Deck thing? They've got you can use Bluetooth headphones. Do you think we should do that for the Switch?" And then the boss turning around and going, "Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Sounds like a great idea." And they walk out of the office and just press the button. Just call security. That guy, you see him holding his box as he's walking out, saying goodbye to all his colleagues.
The other thing that's interesting is that obviously now with Microsoft obviously releasing Xbox games on PC, your Master Chief Collection, you've got loads of other stuff coming out on PC. Sony now releasing Sony games on PC.
Yeah.
And this has been painted as the amazing indie machine, and playing some other PC games as well. But actually, also you get the opportunity to play Master Chief Collection. You'll get a chance to play Ghost of Tsushima and all these other games. And then there's the other element of Game Pass and etc. etc. And this feels like a much more capable device. If you think about those other games, the Sony games. We don't have a Sony handheld anymore. We don't have an Xbox handheld. There's another element. I think
you're
to that.
Right. You could literally use it as your xCloud device, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called now, Xbox Streaming Service Cloud device, or whatever they called it. No, it's pretty mad. That is mad.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
Read the room, Sean.
Look, I don't normally do this section, and I'm going to embarrass myself further because the next news article I know nothing about. But Ubisoft have unveiled Tom Clancy's X-Defiant, which is a new free-to-play multiplayer shooter. I've only had a very quick look at the trailer with the sound off. Matt, do you want to tell everyone?
Yeah, this was unveiled tonight. This was teased a couple of days ago. They said there's going to be an announcement today, and they've announced it. It's, as Sean says, a 6-on-6 free-to-play multiplayer shooter. It looks like, Apex Legends,
Rogue Company,
Apex Legends, Valorant. It's like that kind of thing. It's like a brightly coloured shooter, really, with different classes. Those classes are actually taken from other Ubisoft titles, like there's one called the Wolves. They're from Ghost Recon, the Echelon. They're from Splinter Cell, Cleaners from the Division, etc. And they're going to have many more characters, many more classes coming later. After launch, there's an open beta.
They got a team of boats. You can be a team of boats from Skull and Bones. That's going to be the class I'll go for. I think. Definitely.
I think boats would win. If I log on, there's a team of boats. I'm not playing.
Well, I don't know, because everyone could just board you and they're just standing on the deck, just blowing holes in you,
left, right, and centre.
Nothing you can do,
and then you just sink yourself. Sorted. Job done. Skull and Bones. Can't wait.
This is going to every platform known to man. I mean, literally every platform. And there's a beta plan for August 5th. I mean, I watched the trailer. When I say the words free-to-play Ubisoft shooter, it's exactly how you would imagine. I mean, it's not really for me. It looks like it's got a lot of the ingredients of these kind of shooters that do well. Even like Warzone, all sorts of stuff. The shooting looks good, and they were definitely at pains in the video to talk about how they're a shooter first. They've ultimately focused on how the guns feel and how they look and how they react and whatnot. But I watched it and I just felt cold. It didn't do much.
They looked at that first and not the microtransaction business model. No, that wasn't the first thing they looked at. Come on, we could see it. We could see the business behind it.
Yeah, but you have other like free to play. I mean, like Warzone's obviously done incredibly well, and yeah, it feels like they're absolutely going after that kind of crowd. It's not for me. I'm sure some people would probably get into it, but not for me. But anyway, it comes out in August.
Matt, is it for you, Matt? I'm trying to work out if this is your sort of game, to be honest with you.
I've pre-ordered a free-to-play download.
Look, I've played and enjoyed lots of Ubisoft shooters. I was a big fan of Rainbow Six Siege. I've played a few Ghost Recon games and stuff. But I looked at it and I kind of thought, that's as you say, Matt, it's exactly what I thought it would look like, and I instantly knew what it was. I'm going to try it because I'm going to try it, but it just feels now that we're waiting for something new and big to come along, doesn't it? Like, it feels like we need the next Battle Royale. Yeah. The next sort of exciting idea that it draws everyone together. But I don't know well, obviously I don't know what that idea is, because, no one really... I mean, people kind of saw PUBG coming based off of the zombie game, but it still feels like there needs to be something completely out there, completely new to come out that sort of takes everything over. And this certainly isn't this. It looks like a number of games that you've played before, so it would be interesting to see if one of these actually takes off in a big way.
I mean, in a just society, Dave, that game you're talking about is Knockout City, isn't it?
It is, and I'm still bitter about it, Sean, to be honest with you, because none of my friends play it with me anymore.
We should get that going again.
We should do. It's a good game.
We should.
That is a good game.
From what I saw of this, my main question is, why are they still putting Tom Clancy's name on this stuff?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It's so strange. Like, at least something like...
That is weird.
I mean, never mind the fact that he's been dead for a while. At least something like The Division, right? You could be like, yeah, this is the sort of thing he'd probably be into. But, I mean, looking at the trailer for this...
the sort of thing he'd probably be into.
You know what I mean? But this is just weird. He'd have nothing to do with this.
So it kind of does. So because I watched the trailer earlier as well, and I did sign up for the PC beta test, whatever it is, until I realised that it's US only. But
God damn it.
Yeah, so basically you have these different factions, and each of the factions is like the different class, which is kind of a bit weird to me because I feel like each faction should have lots of the different class and you choose what faction you want to go for and then you pick a class with that. But anyway, that's just a personal bugbear of that. But basically each faction is based on a different Tom Clancy like world. So you've got the Splinter Cell looking faction with the 3 little eyes on their head. I couldn't tell you what any of the other factions' franchises are, though, because I don't know. I looked at them and I can tell that they're different franchises because they're very like differently designed. But I could not tell you which franchise they belong to. I only recognise Splinter Cell.
So you would assume that it was Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, The Division. What other ones?
Can you be the plane from Hawks?
Possibly.
Maybe that's DLC.
Possibly.
That's coming
I've
later.
not had that in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, so you're looking forward to it, Sarah, are you, or you're just interested to see how it plays?
I mean, I like Overwatch. I got big into Overwatch when Overwatch came out. I really like Apex Legends a lot, but I'm so bad at it, and it seems like everyone is so good with it, and I don't know anyone else that plays it, so I can't get like a trio together, so it's just really frustrating to play. But it feels so good to play, and I just really, really enjoy like good, solid FPSs where like the guns feel really nice, and I feel like if they get that nailed down, and if enough people I know are playing it regularly, then yeah, I'll probably get like well into it. If no one I know plays it, then I'll never touch it.
Did you play Rogue Company?
No, I've only really, as much as I say like I really like FPSs, it's only been something I've really got into in the last like couple of years.
Yeah. Rogue Company would definitely be worth checking out because that is, I mean, we played it. What was probably the start of last year, maybe a little bit later, but we hammered that for about 2 months. And absolutely loved every minute of it. And it had exactly that. All the weapons felt good. All the classes felt like really unique and interesting. This seems more like the Rogue Company than it does, say, Apex Legends. Because, 6v6. I think Rogue Company was 4v4. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was short rounds, small maps. You firing away at each other for a matter of about a minute and a half, and then the round's over, and you're buying upgrades in between rounds and stuff. It's a good model and it works well, but I don't think Rogue Company really hit it. It never really broke through. And I guess this has got a better chance of doing so because it's picking up so many audiences, or it's aiming to pick up so many audiences. So maybe this will do better than that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'll definitely play it when there is a Just Dance faction. Unless that comes, I'm not bothered. Maybe Steep. Maybe Steep.
It's always a panda, isn't it?
There was always a panda, yeah. Yeah, if there's a panda faction on there, otherwise forget it.
Good. Right. Should we move on to the next one?
Netflix apparently going to start releasing, going to add their first games within the next year. They've hired Mike Verdu, who's ex EA, Oculus, and Zynga. He's going to be the vice president of game development. There's basically no other detail than that, but apparently it is going to be included in your existing sub. There's no plans to sort of split it or have like an add-on or anything. I'm still fascinated as to what form this is going to take. Like whether it's just going to be like a more advanced version of, like we talked before about the sort of interactive video stuff, or if it's going to be something. But if it's anything more than that, how are you going to control it? Or I don't know.
But the question is why?
Well,
why would they want into this? Like, we've already got like a market leader so far, and several other companies that want to challenge that. I don't know what Netflix gains from this.
Well, the big thing is that a couple of years ago, I'm sure it was Netflix, maybe some other people as well, said that their biggest competitors weren't Amazon Prime Video and Hulu. It was things like Fortnite and TikTok. And so they're probably just trying to add extra things to the service to get people on there to keep the subs for longer, not just when titles come and leave the
So do you think they're going to be making their own games?
That's yeah.
I mean, they kind of have with a couple, with that awful Black Mirror one, and like the Minecraft story mode, is it called?
Minecraft and Cats in Underpants and stuff like that. Yeah. Bear Grylls.
There's a Bear Grylls one.
Baby.
We had a chat about that. Yeah. If you send Bear Grylls down the wrong path, it just falls off a cliff. It's actually really hard to watch, but
it's really
they made him do it. They actually made him do it.
To be fair, that sounds better than the Black Mirror one.
Okay, Bear. Last scene. It's one of the options in the game. If you just go through that bush there, but there's a cliff there. Just go through there. We've set up the camera. We just got to shoot. Just the last scene, Bear. Don't worry about it. You're fine. If the
viewers are pressed down, Bear, this is what happens. You have to do it. Because otherwise, what will happen if they press down on the remote? Exactly.
Do you reckon there must be someone out there, like, Friday night, they're just like, do you know what? I'm going to have my fucking massive glass of wine and just make Bear Grylls fall off some shit. Direct him towards violent animals. Just
is it you saying Bear Grylls is the equivalent of Lara Croft now?
Yeah, basically.
I was going to use that reference. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I didn't know we had to reserve them.
No, I didn't. I just thought, actually, it's a really terrible reference. I'm not going to bother. But it can stay.
I might just start doing that more. Actually, every time someone says something funny, I was going to say, I missed it. I was going to say that, but never mind.
It's a good way. It's a good way of doing it, isn't it?
I never played the Stranger Things game that people have mentioned. Look, they have done games. They've done a Stranger Things game. I didn't play it. It's like a isometric thing.
It didn't look good, did it?
No, it didn't sound great. I mean, this is interesting. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know what. I'm not expecting much. But
did they give some indication of when we're going to see any mention of this?
No, they're just. Oh, go on, sorry.
There has been. Have you heard about the data mine?
No.
So, Steve Moser, I don't know who that is. Basically, he data mined Netflix's iOS app and found renders of the DualSense controllers as well as artwork from Ghost of Tsushima.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, that was why all those news stories come out last week, wasn't it? About how Netflix and Sony were going to work together.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's what people think that this could be hinting at.
Interesting.
And obviously, Sony has their own cloud streaming.
Yeah. Because obviously it's a big difference between just streaming a Netflix video and actually hooking up to a remote console somewhere. But yeah, Sony already have that in place. So
yeah, I kind of think it makes sense, because if you're Sony and you're looking at how good Game Pass is doing and how poor PlayStation Now is doing, you think if you just rebrand PlayStation Now as Netflix and then get that app within, Netflix somehow, so you can switch to the PlayStation Now stuff, but then
I think that's have to charge extra. That's a stupid idea. Netflix, they're constantly increasing their prices to try and make some decent revenue. They spend billions every year on content and yet, again, barely make profit. Sony licensed Microsoft's cloud infrastructure technology a year or two ago. Surely makes sense just to own it themselves, do everything.
I think you're right, because Netflix are saying this will be no additional cost. Or the word... Is this the word on these all rumours, are they?
Reportedly, this is the quote. This is from Eurogamer. Reportedly, Netflix's current plan is to offer games as part of its existing subscription offering, rather than as a separate package or additional pricing tier.
But existing subscription offering in a year's time, it'll probably be another £15 anyway. The amount of increases.
Yeah, if they were doing it with Sony, they'd have to ask for more money for the subscriptions. They're not going to just give that stuff away with current subscriptions, are they? Makes no sense to do that, but. Okay,
but the fact that they're going to add its first games within the year. It doesn't say within a year, within the years in this year. So
hang on, so does that mean by the end of 21, or does it mean in the next 12 months?
Well, if it is within a year, I would expect 12 months, but who knows?
I mean, even if it is within a year from now, that kind of implies it's games that already exist.
Yeah, Anthem. Yeah, I'm with you. Anthem coming to Netflix.
Like it, yeah. Second wind, here we go. Yeah, big into that.
But it is just like all the other like Netflix games, and it's just like a choose your own adventure anthem.
Do you want to get in the javelin or not?
I'd play that. Yeah,
I'd play more of them. I'm fine with those.
Probably
things.
better than the original game if you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think that's harsh.
Bit harsh there, Sean. Bit harsh. Too harsh for me, that one. Okay, right, let's get on to the next news story.
Phil Spencer, he's been sweet talking about the PlayStation 5 controller again. He says, quote, "We kind of look at some of that and think there are things that we should go do."
It's a great quote.
But yeah,
I mean, I must say, I listened to the audio because this was from the Kind of Funny Games cast. And it's not quite as strong as that quote sounds.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, if you listen to it, it was kind of sort of mumbled and not really, he did say those words, don't get me wrong, but in context, it didn't sound as sort of as deliberate as, we are going to make a new controller. But there was a heavy hint there that, look, they understand that Sony's controller has had such high praise, and it's clear that people that play games likes that controller. I mean, I love it. I think it's great, other than to look at it. I don't like the look of it, but actually using the thing's really nice. They'd be mad not to do it, right? I mean, even if, forget the adaptive triggers for a moment, just getting the haptics in there would be enough. Replacing traditional rumble with that. So yeah, it makes total sense for them to bring out a new controller.
And I absolutely love the DualSense. I also love how it looks. But I love using it. But it not being part of the console from day one means developers have to spend extra time working on something that may not be part of every user. Do they just wait till the next console? Do they say, "Oh, we've released a haptics controller that"?
No, not at all. I mean, you look, they're bringing out games for both systems. So look at Call of Duty, and all right, that's a high budget game. So we don't know how much development cost goes into specifying each game for the different controller rumble types. But I mean, I assume it would be that the rumbling in the Xbox pad is just picking up the same. Oh God, this is the bit where developers are listening. Just go, what the fuck? I would assume that the information sent to the controller with the PS5 can also be read by the Xbox controller, and it just makes those little motors kick off. That's it, right?
It's probably just save as rename Xbox, and then it works.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. At the absolute least, it would mean that any of the design docs that they've done for how they want the controller to rumble in certain ways would exist. So it's not like they need to think of a whole new creative. Obviously, if it's on both platforms, they don't need to spend all the time designing this creative way to use the rumble. It's this is also where it shows that I've got no idea. I work in games and I have no idea how they're made.
No, it makes sense. There's obviously implementing it is something else, but the creative decisions will have been made as to how they want it to work. So yeah.
But my point is this: there are already games that. Yeah. There are already games that exist that run on both Xbox and PlayStation using the DualSense. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm sure that it'll be fine. If they introduce that into the Xbox platform, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. I'd love to know, especially with the adaptive triggers, how much the copyright and patent is owned by Sony. How much detail, how do they recreate that if they've got completely... redesign the idea, because Sony have been an easy thing to do.
Sony have been wankers about this stuff in the past, haven't they? They'll still be sore about the time that they lost the rumble mechanism to Microsoft, and then didn't Microsoft buy the company that invented it? And then there was
a whole thing. Refused to license it, so that's why we didn't have Rumble in a PS3 at launch, wasn't it?
I mean, they tried to claim that it was better without for a bit, and then
do you remember how light those pads were at the beginning? They were crazy.
Ridiculous.
There's nothing in this thing now.
Yeah, because you had a launch one, didn't you, Matt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think mine came with Rumble when I bought mine either, and it was just it felt really bad. It felt awful.
And then
6-axis.
Well, I was working at Game when the ones with the rumble came out, and obviously we were being told by head office you got to sell the ones with the rumble. So trying to upsell people to a 50-60 quid controller, being yeah, but this one rumbles. No one cared. No one cared.
On the N64, do you remember?
How many of those warranties did you get on those bad boys?
Nah, never bothered on the PS3. It was the DS Lite. That was where I got all my warranties that just like carried my store through. Because I worked in a Debenhams concession, so like most of my customers were families buying for their kids. So obviously buying DSs for their kids, and you just like have a broken one by the till and just be like, oh, look how easy it is for them just to snap. £10, it'll cover you for 2 years.
Sorry, Sarah, did you say a broken one by the till? Did you also have a letter saying I'm passionate about gaming?
you open up the broken one and the note is folded up inside the broken DS.
Oh, that's great customer service.
Could you imagine that? Could you help set this one up that I've just bought? Yeah, sure. And then just like bending it the other way, snapping it and going, hand it back. Should have bought the warranty. Yeah, maybe I should bought the warranty now. Go on, off you try.
I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry.
So, do you ever, when people are like, oh yeah, games retail, midnight launches, everyone stinks. Do you ever just like, Debenhams concession, mate? Wouldn't know.
No, because I did work in a high street one for like a year and a half before I got promoted and went to go run the Debenhams one. I was 19 at the time, and I should not have been put in charge of an actual retail. I should not have been left in charge of that at all. I don't know what. I think they were just desperate.
Did something go wrong, or was it?
No, nothing went wrong. It was just, well, to be honest, actually, I think a lot of it probably wasn't my fault that like our numbers and KPIs and all that nonsense weren't doing great, because I was there for 2 years, and that was when Game then closed all of their Debenhams concessions. So for like,
but it's got nothing to do with you, is what you're saying. That's just coincidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just funny timing.
I mean, I would have.
Yeah. That's all right.
I would have done a lot of work.
We weren't thinking that, Sarah. Don't worry. We weren't blaming you. Don't worry. That wasn't on our mind, was it?
No, it was.
No, not at all.
At the time, it was great because I do like what I would have to do, but then you'd have so few customers that I just like sit playing DS games for most of my shift.
You might be the first person we've had on the podcast that's actually works at Game. And I've got a lot of questions, but you don't have to answer them. But I just want to know everything about the customers that came in. And like, was there anyone that was clearly buying the wrong game? And you had to convince them to buy the right one? Did you ever have one of those moments? Because every time in a game, there's always like a member of staff going, no, you don't understand. This won't run on this console.
No, I had a lot of parents buying GTA for like 9 and 10-year-olds, sometimes younger. And I would kind of go a little bit Daily Mail on them and be like, there are prostitutes and drugs and murder. And
kids there going, give me it.
half the time it made absolutely no difference, and the parent like just did not care. But yeah, that was the whole thing. We had a lot of people. Do you remember when Xbox 360s did that thing where if they were on and reading the disc and you moved it slightly, it would laser burn the disc?
Oh yeah.
Scratch
and
it right
completely knacker the disc.
The good old days.
I remember that.
Yeah, we'd have a lot of people coming back with those discs and be like, I ain't touched it. I've done nothing to it. It's just burnt it. And I'm like, physically, there is no way for the console to do that unless you have touched it. One guy admitted that he stood his console up as it was like reading the disc.
Oh my god.
And then was like shocked that it burnt the disc. And I'm like, yeah, because you stood it up. And he was like, yeah, but it shouldn't have done it. And I was like, kind of do have a point there, because there is nothing that tells you not to do that, but also that is what's done it. I'm not replacing it.
You had to turn into like a car mechanic for the 360 era, didn't you? Like people coming in with broken bits and go, ooh, that's going to cost you.
Yeah. And especially it's like part way through when I was there, that was when they cottoned on to people with, because they would just, if you had the red ring within the year, it would just get replaced, no questions asked. And what people would do is have their within warranty receipt and just give it to their mate if their mate's Xbox died. So the mate would come in with someone else's receipt and be like, no, it's within a year, and get it replaced. So, but that was like so rampant that they had to then get us to like start scanning serial numbers.
Oh, right, yeah. That sounds fun. More work. The thing that always killed me, I'll never forget the Christmas when the Wii came out, because I was lucky enough to get one on launch day or whatever, and I just remember going into game shops or Game Station or whatever at the time, and the amount of parents that would stroll up to the counter and just go, "Hi, I'd like to buy a Nintendo Wii, please," and like the staff just going, "No,
you're giving me flashbacks."
It was so sad because it was always, the classic looking old man, and he's got his little bit of paper out. A Nintendo Y for my grandson, please. No, you're never going to get this. These things don't exist anymore. And just seeing the faces on them as they realise that Christmas has now just been destroyed. And knowing that I could change that because I was an adult with one at home and I could just say, oh, here, have mine. But not doing it because I was addicted to Wii Bowling. I was addicted to Wii Bowling.
Well, I think it's unfair, Dave, the fact that you would be in-game holding your Wii saying, no, this is mine. This is mine. No, Grandad, no, words original for you.
But what?
Or maybe Turbo Man.
But what always made me laugh is you would always get at least one person a day be like, nah, I bet they've got like thousands sat in a warehouse somewhere and they're just not selling them to drive up demand. But people are still saying that even now with like the PS5. And it's like, that is not what's happening.
But I hear that all the time. Oh, they're doing the Nintendo thing. They're holding it back to get divided. It's like, well, actually, selling them's probably doing better for Nintendo, isn't it? Because they could take that money and make more money out of it, can't they? Weird. Where were we? How did we get onto this? Blimey.
Yeah, sorry, this is my fault.
Xbox controllers.
I was just going to say, like...
vibration controllers.
The vibration.
No, I was just going to say, Sarah, the way you said, like, I was 19, I shouldn't have been in control of the store. I thought you were going to be like, someone did die, actually. Or there's going to be, like, some...
Not anywhere near as excited as that. Just very... We could quite easily go, like, 3 or 4 hours and not see a single customer. It was...
Oh, but that's sort of awful. The worst, though, isn't it? Because then when someone does come in, you're just like, oh, fuck off. What do you want?
I did have a little kid, because also as well is because it was, parents would shop in Debenhams and just like, just say to their kid, just like, leave me alone, I'm doing shopping, go upstairs to game and just hang out up there.
Yeah, I used to do exactly that.
I used to do that. Yeah.
What I do remember one time this lad came up. He must have been maybe like 7 or 8, and he just walked up to the counter and was like, "Do you like Pokemon?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do actually." And he was like, "Oh, would you like to see my Pokemon?" And he just pulls out his DS and just like chats to me for like half an hour, telling me about all his favourite Pokemon until his mum comes up and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like he must be talking your ear off." And I was like, no, this is the nicest bit of company I've had all day.
Was it working in the Debenhams? Was it like proper? You go to the canteen or whatever, and then you've got all the makeup people in one corner, and all the the sports department all sitting together, or is it not like that? Was there turf wars going on?
I don't know, because I never went to the. I never went to like the Debenhams canteen. I don't even know if our store had one, or like the Debenhams staff room. But yeah, so I mean, I was on like the top floor with like there was this very eccentric old man who ran like the Sony TV hi-fi department, who used to just
there always is.
But like he made it his mission to piss off the Debenhams staff, because like me, he was like concession, so he wasn't employed by Debenhams.
Right.
And he made it his mission to at least once a week piss off the Debenhams management by just putting like 70s dad rock on these really powerful like 3-4 grand hi-fi systems loud as possible when there was like no customers on the floor.
I mean, you would do, wouldn't you?
Like, he just apps, because I think his department got shut down around about the same time my game department did. So like me knowing I was going to be out of a job in like 3-4 months, he just did not care. He didn't care to begin with, and then somehow he managed to not care even less.
Wow, this is great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I kind of want a 4-hour special now of like tales from game retail.
Tales from game and Debenhams. All I can say is I am not shocked that Debenhams is going down the shitter, and somehow amazed that game hasn't gone the same way.
Yeah, it's crazy. That one, right? Game I don't understand, although they've had their troubles, right? WH Smiths I do not get. I do not get it. I do not get how WH Smiths is still everywhere. Is it literally just the airport ones that are keeping them alive? I don't get it. Even the little one in high streets that no one even goes to anymore. It's still going.
You need to get, cards and wrapping and stuff.
Yeah, but there's Card Factory that sells them for about 12. We're not an advert for Card Factory, but my point is this, right? Every time I do go in there...
What if I want a lovely Parker pen?
Yeah, you go in there, you get a Parker pen, and they're like, do you want some chocolate for £1? Well, chocolate's £1 anyway.
Or just go Paper Chase. Oh no, wait, they're going bust as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
This sucks. 2021 sucks. Is it 2021? It is.
I think so.
It is, yeah.
It's been 2021 for nearly 8 months.
It really has been. Sean, next news story, please.
Nintendo have made it very clear that there are no plans to launch any other Switch models other than the OLED edition, quote, at this time.
Do you know what I take away from this news story, Sean?
Go on.
I mean, it's never a good sign if you announce your new console and the question people are asking is, when's the next one getting announced?
Yeah, but what else have you got? Come on.
When's the real one coming?
It's not could you imagine that? And we're revealing the PlayStation 5. Any questions? Yeah. When's the PlayStation 6 out? Well, there's the PlayStation 5 over there, mate. Don't worry about that. This is not good, is it? People are not impressed by this thing. It's going to sell shitloads.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not, putting it down or whatever. It's going to sell a ton. But that can't be a good thing to hear when people are asking when the next one's out, surely.
No. It was a couple of tweets from Nintendo. Basically, the first one says a news report on July 15th, 2021 claimed that the profit margin of the Nintendo Switch OLED model would increase compared to the Nintendo Switch. To ensure correct understanding among our investors and customers, we want to make clear that the claim is incorrect. We also want to clarify that we just announced that the Nintendo Switch OLED model will launch in October 2021 and have no plans for launching any other model at this time.
I
mean, I thought it was interesting because Nintendo never comment on anything, so it must have been rattled enough for them to comment on the fact that there's the same or not an increased profit margin, which I don't believe, but whatever. They said that.
It does seem strange though, because the Switch came out 5 years ago?
Yeah, 2017
now. Yeah, Jesus.
2017. So 4 years ago, and you think the price hasn't gone down to that machine, has it?
I mean, a bit. Like you can get deals pretty reliably now, but officially it's
retail price.
You had the Switch Lite. That's cheaper, and then also had some pretty good deals on fairly recently.
Sure. You could get one for like 120, 130, can't you? But this one here, we're talking. They released the Switch, they kept the same price. They've released this one, it's £30 more. How is the margin not bigger?
Yeah, and also, materials must have gone way down. They've been producing them for 4 years.
Mm.
And they're using Tegra chips from, the 60s anyway.
Well, I suppose the argument is that actually it's the margin's got bigger on the original Switch as well, so the margin is probably the same.
Yeah, it's the same as the original Switch is now. Yeah.
So they didn't say that on the third tweet. Yeah, just to clarify, it's the massive margin we're getting on the current Switch. It's no different. It's still massive. Bye.
I mean, it's Nintendo going to do what they're going to do. We're still going to buy it. We mentioned it last week. As long as it's got that little plumber on there.
And when pre-orders went live, then people were struggling to get hold of a pre-order. So they'll be fine.
I know. Well, it's mainly because people like you bought about 8 pre-orders.
I just bought one. Just a pre-order one. I think it'd be stupid not to. I'm just saying.
So just to confirm as well that James, I'm definitely not going to buy this Farley, has a pre-order for this. Of course he does. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Is that it?
That is it
for the news?
That is it for the news.
Well, staying on Nintendo then. There was a big Nintendo Switch game release this week, wasn't there?
Big new one.
I say Nintendo Switch game. It was a Wii, wasn't it? It's come out on the Wii.
It was a Wii game, yeah.
Matt, what was the game and what do you think of it?
The game is Skyward Sword. It's now Skyward Sword HD, re-released on the Switch, and it's HD. It's so bloody HD. I think, but I didn't play the original on the Wii, but that was like 480p, 30 frames. This is 1080p, 60 when docked. Maybe different handheld, or vice versa. So I've never played it before, but what I wanted to do with this is that I was excited to play it because one, I haven't played it before. And I want to see what it's about, but also this is like the start of the whole like timeline, isn't it? This is like one of the earlier games, and
I can't keep up with that.
And this also basically a crucial part of like the trilogy. This and Breath of the Wild, and then the forthcoming Breath of the Wild 2. So I wanted to play it for that reason, and I pre-ordered this ages ago, and people were like, this is one of the worst Zelda games. And a lot of people were like, I'm not going to bother with this HD remake. What's the point? It was a shit game back then. Or, okay, maybe shit game's harsh, but it was one of the lesser good games, shall we say, in the Zelda series.
I don't think anyone said it was the worst one, right? Because, what was the one with the wolf? That's traditionally noted as one
Twilight
of the worst,
Princess.
right?
My understanding was that Skyward Sword is broadly considered worse.
Yeah,
okay. I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So what did Twilight Princess? Twilight Princess launched on the Wii as well, right?
Yeah, Wii and GameCube,
yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, sorry. Yeah, continue.
But
Matt. Sorry,
even with that, I haven't played it before, so I'm excited at least to see new Zelda. And I think even a bad Zelda is better than even a bad Zelda is better than a lot of other games. Frankly, it's still a new Zelda game. I saw the reviews, and the reviews were actually just fixed a lot of the issues the original had. Lots of nice quality of life changes now.
If you bought a fucking amiibo with it, go on.
I did buy the amiibo.
Oh, Matthew.
Of course you did.
But
just to clarify, I just thought,
how much was it?
How
much did you pay for it?
Have you got that amiibo?
Yes, I did. Yeah, because I heard they were delayed.
Yeah.
So I might flip this one. No,
That's bad, isn't it? Right, you got to pay to warp to fast travel to places. Okay, here's the money. Yeah, that's coming. That's delayed, that one. So don't worry about that for a bit. You know what I mean? Like,
the thing that we arbitrarily made a physical item, we're now having trouble manufacturing.
It's not like we have to patch it in. It's already in the game. You just can't access it.
Yeah, I heard that. Like in launch week, saying, there's been loads of delays. I'm like, well, something's arriving from Amazon, but mine did arrive. You know what? It's a gorgeous little amiibo. I'll say that much. Anyway, is
it your only one that you've got? Is it just that one?
No, I got a Luigi one that someone got me for like a Secret Santa a few years ago.
Oh, nice.
I don't think that one does anything. But so now I've got two. So I'm quite the collector, David. I'll have you know. Quite the collector.
Have you built a shelf yet?
The shelf is being built as we speak. Yeah.
You need one of them glass cabinets.
Oh yeah,
I was supposed to get. I'm pretty sure I can say this. I'm pretty sure I can't, but I'll say it anyway. I was supposed to get an amiibo from Nintendo when I reviewed the original Mario Maker. They never sent it. They just never sent it.
Call them out now. They will be gutted when they hear this.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll get a few in the post after this episode goes out.
So just for anyone listening, so Dave wasn't paid off for that review, but he thought he was going to be when he wrote it.
Yeah. So he's livid now.
I'm still furious. I gave it a 4. Go on.
But if you got an amiibo, you would give it a 10 probably, wouldn't you? So that's a bit of a...
Absolutely.
They fucked up, really. Anyway, this game, the controls are shit.
Are they?
I'll just say it out front. I'm like, a new Zelda game. This is exciting. And when I saw the reviews, I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care what people have thoughts about the original. I'm excited because it's a new Zelda game. And my God, the controls, right? You've got to use motion controls. Because this game has new control systems patched into it now. Basically, I'm not sure what it's like originally, but now it has like a free roam camera mode. I assume before it didn't.
So to explain, this game was originally built with motion controls in mind. So this launched with Wii Motion Plus, was it around that period?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And the idea was that it was a one-to-one action with your sword, and you played it with the Wiimote and nunchuck. And yeah, it was all motion controls. And one of the selling points of this was, don't worry about that. We've introduced button controls. So
yes, they're now a button-only controls, what they're calling it. And I'm like, oh, brilliant! This is awesome. I'll play using my Pro Controller docked. This is perfect. I started playing it, and basically, to have a camera that works in 2021, so you can see where you're going, you've got to hold down the L button the whole time. I'm like, that's ridiculous. You've got to hold down the L button constantly to have the camera be behind Link to show you where you're going. Otherwise, if you don't, then the camera's kind of like looking in a certain direction. You have to keep constantly moving it, so as a 3D camera should do. So that was annoying.
So why would they want to toggle that? Why would you ever want that off?
I don't know. I want it. I want it so I don't have to hold down L and the camera just works. Yeah, no,
obviously, but there must be. What I'm saying is that there must be a design reason for them to want you to toggle that off or on, or hold it down or let it go. There must be. Does the right stick, because you're controlling it with the right stick when you're holding L? Well,
yeah. So the right stick is now, with it not being motion controls, the right stick is your sword actions.
Okay.
So
right. Okay.
If in a battle, in a combat scenario, if you want, if you want to have the camera working and so you can actually see the enemies and also swing your sword, you can't do that. Because the right stick is the camera when you're holding down L, but then in a battle you got to let go of L. So now the camera's looking at whatever it's looking where you let go of it, and then you use the stick to do the sword swipes, which doesn't work at all. I mean, it works technically, but it just feels awful because it feels so slow, so rubbish. You got to swipe your stick from right to left and up and down or diagonal. It's just felt so bad.
A lock on?
Yes, there is a lock on, but it just felt bad. It just felt bad, basically. So I was like, well, I surely can't have to hold down L for the entire game, even if I'm not in if I'm not fighting enemies. I'm like, I surely have to hold down L for the entire game. No, you do. So then I switched on motion controls, which are instantly better. I'm like, okay, this feels so much nicer. The camera, because now I'm controlling the camera on the right stick as I was before, but crucially, I don't have to use the right stick to do the sword swipes. I can use my movement, moving my hand and waggling around like it's the first days of the Wii. It's easier and it's better, but it's the same reasons I didn't get on with Twilight Princess. It's because I'm just moving my hands around like a crazy person, and that doesn't feel great either. So I'm definitely kind of caught between the two. I mean, I think motion controls feels better than the alternative of holding down L for the entire game and then all that stuff. But yeah, it's just like the controls are such a barrier for me. Like it feels like I'm focusing on the controls most of the time rather than enjoying the game. Because outside of that, I've actually really enjoyed it. It's got quite a slow start. The first 2 and a bit hours, you're in this first little area and the story is still kind of beginning, and then after around the 2 hour mark you get to start the game properly, and it's really good. I've been playing with Elodie. She's been really enjoying it. We've been playing together. She's enjoying the story. It's great kind of seeing the origins of Link becoming the Link we know and love, and I think it's nice to be part of that world. I'm enjoying what little the story I'm getting so far. But the camera that controls it is kind of like consuming my thought process for the entire game. It just sucks. I just fucking hate these motion controls, and I know I've got to use them because it's either that or a much worse alternative. But it just feels so inaccurate. Like there's also bits where I am now, I'm in Farron. I think it's Farron Wood. It's like the first major kind of area of the game after the first initial kind of story bit, and there's bits where Link has to balance across like ropes, and I've got to use the Wiimote to do that, and I'm like, it doesn't feel one-to-one in the slightest. I'm basically just kind of guessing. It says hold your Wiimote still and Link will, go across. I'm like, I'm doing it still, and he's still falling off. Anyway, that feels like a nightmare. That's nowhere near as good as it was on the Wii, even without Wii Motion Plus, where at least I know if I held the Wiimote up, then the player, the character I was controlling was going to stand up. That feels dreadful. There was a bit before that, which took me ages because I was using the motion controls. Now, you get your bird, which you fly around on, called Loftwing. And there's a bit, basically, where I had to complete a sequence using Loftwing to try and catch something else. Using these flight controls, and it took me like 15 minutes. Now, I'm fairly sure if I used button controls, it probably would have been like a 2-second thing, but it was just absolutely rubbish because I had to like hold the red or the right Switch controller, and that the angle I held that determined whether the bird was kind of swooping down or going up, and you got to go up and down to get speed up and whatnot. Oh, but like that felt like that was barely working. It's just so rubbish. I feel like I probably should have switched to something else at that point. Maybe I should have switched back to control method. Because I spoke to my mate Joe who did it, and I was like, yeah, that bit was awful. He said, yeah, it was awful. So he switched to like regular control, and he did it in like 2 seconds. It's so bad. I've seen people say that actually what you can do is you can play with like the Pro Controller or whatever it is, but the moment you pick up your 2 loose Joy-Con, it kind of switches to the motion control stuff. So some methods, people are actually using both at once. Like, okay, this bit I'm using the controller, pick up the controller, that works. Drop that, pick up the Wiimote, pick up the Switch Joy-Con, then they work for different scenarios. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, maybe it's just me, but oh my God, I was like, this is exactly why I stopped playing Twilight Princess back in the day, because as much as I love Zelda games, I just couldn't be dealing with the waggle. And I'm like, it's 2021. I thought they would have just said you don't have to do that, or you can play it a different way. But
yeah, but I suppose if the game is based around that motion of the sword,
yeah, obviously
how
it's a
the hell
crucial
do you
part.
do that
Yeah.
with
And you know what? When it works well, it's cool. Like you go into like a sparring tent near the beginning, and the guy in there is like, switch, throw your sword at an angle or straight ahead of you or up and down, left to right. When it works and you feel like, okay, it's like a 1-to-1 thing, it feels fine. It feels responsive, and you know what you're doing. But even today before the pod I was playing, and you see a bunch of enemies, and they might hold their sword out a certain way to say to you, which means you need to do like an up to down swipe or left to right swipe based on how the enemy is holding their sword to block. And I was going like left, right, left, right, left, right, and I was just doing up and down swipes. I think it says a lot whereby whenever you press pause, there's like a button press Y to like resync your control. No, not resync. Like.
Oh, to sort of set the sort of neutral position
to like
again,
recenter it. I think I think it says a lot. The fact that's just there on the pause menu, because I'm doing that a lot.
I don't know. No, most motion control games have that, right? That you can usually you can just do it.
It's just been
in-game.
a while since I played it, and I'm like,
Sean, how seriously do you take these criticisms?
I mean, it all sounds pretty legit to me. Like, I'm
just wondering, because this is the man that also slated the controls in Super Metroid.
There is that.
Well, yeah, but they were old and shit, famously. Has anyone else been playing that this week, or was it just me?
No, I kind of wanted to pick it up because it's one of the few Zelda games I haven't played and have like never played before. But I got a PS5 like a month ago, so all my like game money is going on PS5 games that I haven't played yet, and I haven't touched my Switch in about a year.
Jesus.
Maybe.
It's been a while for me as well, actually,
Yeah, it's been a while.
We've got a plan, though.
Yeah.
We've got a plan to change that. So we'll get back to, we will jump back to Zelda, but we've decided that, summer holidays is coming up. And Joe was like, I'm going out of my mind. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with them. So Harry decided that a good idea would be to nuke our Animal Crossing island and start again. So I think we're going to do that, especially because Joe didn't, she joined in about 4 or 5 months after we'd already started.
Yeah.
So starting the 3 of us on the island together at the same time over the summer holidays sounds like a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to start again, which I don't know how to feel about that, because two things. Firstly, we started it during the first lockdown. So are we going to be warped back to those feelings of all that fear and dread that is while we're playing this cute animal game?
Well, no, it's exactly the same. I think there was a tweet around today. It's like, it feels like 2020. Sun's out, COVID's in the air. It's going to feel exactly as it did back then.
Well, the other concern is that now, like when you started Animal Crossing back then, there was all this hope about what could be. This island, and we're going to get this building and that building, and now we know what's going to happen. Is it going to be like, what's the point? Yeah. What's the fucking point in doing any of this again? But yeah, I think that's the plan. Anyway, Zelda, James has been playing it, hasn't he?
Oh, he has, yeah. I've been talking to him.
So we'll get his views next week.
Seriously, have to hold down Elder Way. He's like, yeah, no, you do.
How far into it are you?
I'm only like 4 hours in, so I'm still in like that Farron. I think it's Farronwood. Farron's still in the woods section. But I'm enjoying playing with LED. But yeah, the controls are kind of doing nothing. But I hope I'm just going to kind of lean in. I'm just going to learn how to use them and get used to it. It's not. It's not a Zelda game that I can really fully properly get into because the controls just feel like such a barrier for me. But I'm still going to keep playing it. But my God!
So you're not going to be playing this in handheld mode at all?
So I've only played it dock so far. And if handheld means I've got to use that right stick for the sword stuff and then do the whole like hold down L bollocks, probably not likely to happen. I'm interested in other people's views because maybe I'm just being overly harsh on it. I've seen some reviews say, it's fantastic and you get used to it, or it's not that bad actually. But my God. So in terms of people's response to this game originally, I mean, were people down on this because of the controls, or are there other issues that I'm yet to encounter that are going to make me think, hang on?
Wasn't it it was a pacing and backtracking thing, was my understanding.
Okay, so a lot of that stuff I believe they fixed. Yeah, some of the things that people mentioned is that like before, every time you saw an item, it had like loads of unskippable text. I believe that's changed now. You can... there's loads of quality of life changes I believe they've made, which makes it a lot easier, a lot quicker than it was originally. I think it looks nice. I mean, it's high resolution. The graphical style is quite plain, so it looks very much like when you see emulated like Wii games on PC, where they're ultra high resolution, but obviously texture-wise, there's not a lot of change. So it's ultra crisp.
Still limited to 1080p, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it just, I think with the combined kind of simplistic graphics, it looks very, very sharp because there's not a lot they can show. But no, it's fun, but controls are kind of getting in the way. But I'll keep going. Right. I'm interested to know what James thinks, because James didn't play either back in the day, and he almost certainly have a different view to me.
And because he's traveling, he'll definitely be playing it with. Yeah, the non-motion controls, won't he? So
I feel sorry for the people on the flight with him. That's what I'm saying. Let's go on to Sarah. What have you been playing this week?
So I got a PS5 just under a month ago.
How did you do that? Were you doing the whole? Did you go down the route that I did and have all your set up and all that?
I didn't buy it. My partner got it for me for my birthday.
Oh wow,
that's cheating.
He did.
I get like socks.
He did the whole so prior to my birthday, he asked if I wanted one. He was like, so what do you want for your birthday? Because I'm thinking I could get you a PlayStation 5, or you've been dropping all these hints. I could maybe get you a really nice selection of like surprises that I've put a lot of like time and effort and thought into. And I was just sat there just going, no, I want a PlayStation.
yeah, that's the right answer, isn't it?
And he was like, are you sure? Because like I could, come up with some really, really cool stuff. And I was just like, no, PlayStation. But on the day, he gave me like some other like kind of smaller presents, and he was like, oh, okay, so do you want a coffee? Do you want me to go like get breakfast? And I'm sat there thinking, I know there's more than this, but I can't say anything because I'll just sound like the most like spoiled brat.
Where's my real present?
Where's the real one?
And he kept it going for about like half an hour while he went and did like breakfast and coffee and stuff, and then like we just sat on the bed like having breakfast, and then he was like, oh no, wait, I've got you like a couple of films as well, and hands me what's obviously wrapped Blu-ray cases, like obviously wrapped in like wrap. So I opened them, and it was Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Ratchet and Clank, and then so obviously like the penny dropped that it was a PS5. So he was like, oh, so I'll just get it for you, and he just stands up and takes this PS5 box down off of a shelf. I thought it was the box for his. No, it was my PS5 was just in like it because I'd been there like a couple of days at that point, so it was just in full view. But I just assumed it was the box for his.
Like Phil Spencer with the Series S in the background.
Yeah, well, that is 100% what it was. That is exactly what it was.
You know what's really bad? That reminded me of this story about when it was Valentine's Day this year, and Joe said to me leading up to it, because I was in the zone with trying to get a PS5, you know, I had like the streams up, the alerts, all of that sort of stuff. And Joe said to me leading up to Valentine's Day, oh, you are going to love me for what I've got you for Valentine's Day. I'm not being funny, but I've gone above and beyond this year. And I'm going, no, she hasn't managed to, has she? And then even when I was trying to buy a PS5 like a couple of days before Valentine's Day and I was failing to buy it from Amazon or whatever, I was like, yeah, but do I do this? Because what if, you know, I get one ordered and it turns up and then Valentine's Day, it's like it completely ruins it and all this. And I'm building it up in my head. And then the day came and she got me some chocolate brownies. And I was like, oh, thanks. That's a reality. I was like bad for her because
beyond, haven't you?
It was though. They were the best chocolate brownies I've ever had, and I love chocolate brownies. But in my crazy head, I was getting a PS5 that day. But yeah, cool. So you got that?
Yeah.
What have you been playing on?
Yeah. So I got a PS5, so I've been using it to play PS4 games.
Classic.
So, yeah.
Naturally, yeah, that's the obvious thing to do.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah, I know. So even though I've got Ratchet and Spider-Man, I have not played those yet.
You've not touched it?
No, I've not
Miles
touched
Morales is absolutely incredible.
I've not.
It's so good.
The first thing I properly dove into was the Final Fantasy VII Remake retrograde into whatever the hell it's called. I forget. The Yuffie DLC, but that feels I could do an entire podcast about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, to be quite honest, so let's not get onto that topic.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
A positive one or a negative one?
Oh, so positive.
That's a shame.
Without any spoilers, I hit the end of an episode intermission, and by the time the final cutscene rolled, I was sobbing, like actual floods of tears. But then Final Fantasy VII was like the first game I really got into. Like right. I wouldn't be into video games as much as I am now without the original Final Fantasy VII, so it's a big deal. But
awesome.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it was great. But no, this week, most recently, I've been playing Judgment, the sort of PS5.
Oh, cool.
Slight upgrade.
I was going to say, the upgraded version. So that's sort of a PS5 game.
Yeah.
How is it upgraded? What have they done to it?
So it runs in full 4K 60. Load times are much quicker, and if you buy the PS5 version that I did, it also gives you like a ton of DLC. I think there's DLC missions. And then also there's an absolute ton of items that pop up like in your mailbox that I don't know what a lot of them are for. There was a lot of cats that you can decorate your office with. But it was basically because I've had it for a little while, but then when you guys were talking about finishing was it Yakuza 0 you finished?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of gave me the nudge to actually finally start playing it. I've not got around to playing any of the Yakuza games. They've always been on my list, but it's like 700-800 hour plus games at this point that I just do not have time for. So I thought, jump into Judgment. It's really good. It doesn't... I feel like it hasn't really shown any of the kind of real wackiness that a lot of the Yakuza games do, and I don't know whether that's just maybe because it is kind of a bit separate or whether I haven't got that far into it yet. But so basically you play the main character, I forget his name, Yaguchi, I think it is. But anyway, the main character.
Matt, you're the only one that's played it. Do you remember the name of the league?
Yagami? No.
Yagami, that's it. Because I keep wanting to call him Light Yagami, which is the guy from Death Note, and that's not what his name is. But so basically he's a lawyer. He does this. So in Japan, conviction rate when you're a supposed criminal is like 99%. If it goes to court, you're going to go to prison. He gets this supposed like serial killer or murderer, and he's a lawyer, and he manages to get this supposed murderer off so he can go free, and that basically makes him into this complete hotshot. So many people are trying to hire him as a lawyer, but the person he got off then goes on to kill his girlfriend.
Whoa.
Oh, that backfired.
Yep. And then obviously gets arrested, goes back to prison. So obviously Yagami's career as a lawyer is completely ruined at that point. You know, you got this murderer to go free who then went on to kill someone else. So he's basically now working.
Wouldn't you think, well, to be fair, he's probably learned his lesson there. I don't think we need to give him any more shit, given that his girlfriend's now dead.
Oh, it's not the lawyer's.
Oh,
so
it's the right.
Sorry, no, that's my terrible explanation because I can never remember names. It's not Yagami's girlfriend. It's like the killer's girlfriend. Okay. She does have a name. They say her name like twice right at the beginning of the game. So basically then it cuts like 3 years later, and he's no longer a lawyer. He is now a kind of slightly seedy private detective working with an ex-Yakuza member and doing sort of the legwork for, on occasion, the lawyers that he used to work for as a lawyer. And basically what's happening is someone is going around killing Yakuza members and gouging their eyes out. The head of one of the Yakuza families is arrested on suspicion of being the one causing these murders, because it seems to be all members of like the rival family that are getting their eyes popped out. And but Yagami,
I'm just wondering, where do they get the wacky shit in? It's really dark so far.
it is quite a dark story. And then basically the Yakuza boss that is sort of arrested on suspicion, he's almost kind of like a father to Yagami. Like they're very close. Right. They go back way far. So he's basically asked to kind of investigate what happened, because the Yakuza boss is being a bit shady with what actually happened. So you're very much like, did he actually do it? Did he not do it? So you're kind of discovering what happened along with that. So it's a lot of, because obviously the whole game is set in Kamurocho, the same city that all the Yakuza games are set in as well. And it's a lot of exploring the city, talking to lots of people. You have these little kind of first person investigation sections where you're kind of looking around to look for evidence. You have sort of questioning sections where it almost goes a bit Phoenix Wright, where you have to pick the right evidence to show to someone, or pick the right dialogue choices to kind of interrogate someone.
What happens when you pick the wrong one? Does it just sort of say that's the wrong one and you try a different one, or?
What happens is when you get into one of those conversations, so I've only done the picking the evidence one once, and it was very obvious what was the right one. So not sure what happens if you pick the wrong one. But with the with the like dialogue choices, nothing really happens if you pick the wrong one. But if you, in the top right hand corner, it basically has like a number of stars. And that's the like number of right options. And if you pick only the right options until you filled up all those stars, you get like a bonus to SP, which can then be sent on skills. Okay. So it's more like you get a bonus for doing the right thing rather than being punished for doing the wrong thing.
That's interesting.
There's also like quick time chase sequences. There's kind of stealth tailing sequences where you have to kind of follow someone. And then there's also the kind of very typical like Yakuza combat. You'll just have people kind of start fights with you as you kind of walk around the city. There's loads of places to go and eat food. There's not a huge number of mini games at the moment. I don't know whether more will kind of open up, because I think there is like a cat cafe management section to it. There's like a whole drone racing section, which I haven't unlocked yet.
Sorry, what? Holy shit.
Cat cafe.
No, the drone racing thing.
Yeah. So you have a drone that can help like with the investigation. And there is a drone racing building, and you also get like drone parts.
Oh my God.
I haven't got to that yet, but basically what I think it is you basically have to kind of collect and create and build all these different parts to kind of make a really, really good drone, and then do drone racing.
Suddenly Sean is interested.
I need this.
Sean's already purchased it now.
Just straight perked up.
Yeah, no, because I've already got this on PS4, but
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a tenner ages ago, and this was when I was still promising to get into Yakuza 0, and I thought, well, it's a tenner, like I'll play it one day. But now, obviously, I'd sort of like quite like to play it on the Series S and get the next gen version. So I don't know. I should not be an idiot and just play it on the PS4, but I have a feeling I'll probably get the Xbox version instead.
It's I've just checked. It's £28 on Xbox Series X and PS5.
That's
on Amazon.
I think I paid like 26 for it on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, 26
on PS5.
Yeah. Got no
but
fucking
it's very good.
drive,
It definitely feels a lot tighter and leaner than the Yakuza games. As I said, I don't know whether a lot more of it will open up, because I think I'm only maybe 4 or 5 hours into it. But the story's really, really good, and it does a really good job of kind of setting up this really kind of compelling mystery. And, I want to keep playing it because I want to find out what exactly is going on, and I feel like the story has the potential to really kind of blossom and bring in lots of kind of twists and turns and stuff. So yeah, hopefully it goes that way.
Cool.
Very dull question, but does it use any of the haptic stuff, any of the DualSense stuff?
No.
Right, okay.
No, right, I don't think so.
Then. I won't bother unless that pad is going nuts in my hand.
I did start playing it. I think I got through just the very first intro sequence on PS4, and the quicker load times definitely make it worthwhile playing it on PS5.
Oh god, yeah. I mean that's been the biggest thing, isn't it, with this gen? As I said, the one that I noticed it on the most is we play a lot of Forza Horizon, and I just remember on the Xbox One playing 4 and just going, I want to change my car, but I don't know if I can be asked. Because you change your car in that and you are looking at a splash screen for at least a minute. Whereas now it's like, well, yeah, just change my car, because it takes 2 seconds. It's you can't underestimate how much of an upgrade that is, especially on the PS5, where it seems to be using that hard drive to its full extent. Games like Miles Morales and stuff, when you launch that, and you press a button and you're in the city. And obviously, did you play the original Spider-Man game on I say the original one, but the one on the PS4? Sarah?
No. This is Miles Morales is going to be my first intro into either of them.
Okay, well, if you enjoy that, then definitely upgrade. I think it's £20, and you can even get rid of Miles Morales after that. You can pay £20 and get the old one upgraded. It's worth playing through that as well, because it was excellent. But they had the in the original game they had these hideouts that you had to do, and they were just so terrible to do because you'd go to like a roof and there'd be a window, skylight on the roof. You would open it up, and then you would load for ages, and then suddenly you're in this sort of stealth area. Whereas like the first time, when you're used to that, the first time you play that on the PS5 and you go up to that and you press a button and Spider-Man just drops down into the area, it's like, oh right, okay, that's why this is so important, because suddenly I'm quite happy to do these areas, whereas before you just think about that loading, and yeah, it was a massive pain in the arse. But yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, it's been a long running joking on this show about how much I didn't enjoy my time with Yakuza and how much James Farley hates me for it. But the more people talk about Judgment, the more I'm thinking maybe this is the one. Maybe this is my in, because as you say,
with a sequel
not having to worry. Yeah, not having to worry about all those games that are around it and how long they are and all that sort of stuff. Just going in with this sort of side thing that you know that you don't have to play many other Yakuza games to sort of understand. I think that might actually be the route I go down. It's just whether I wait, I wait for the inevitable Game Pass version.
Like I'm very much getting the feeling that, because obviously, not having played any of the other Yakuza games, it still does a really good job of kind of setting up the city, setting up the families. I do feel like if you have played the games, I feel like there might be some sort of references and nods that you might pick up on if you've played them. But if you haven't played them, you're not missing out on anything. It's still a really good story.
In the back of my mind, because the amount of times you it's in films and and in video games and stuff where there'll just be a scene where the main character bumps into someone on the street and they look at each other for half a second and carry on. And in the back of my mind's going, yeah, people know who that is. That must be someone from another game. Like, I'm picking that stuff apart. It's always at the back of my mind, but I think it'll be all right on that. I won't worry about it too much. I've got to give these another go, because James and I are usually really in sync with what we like. But for some reason, the Yakuza stuff I just couldn't get into. I even like Shenmue 1. He was so convinced I was going to hate that, and I like that one.
Yeah, I've got this on PS4, and I played like 2 or 3 hours just really to prove a point during Game of the Year. And the fact this is only 27 quid, and I'm the same. I'm kind of sick of everyone talking about the Yakuza games, and I'm overwhelmed or intimidated by the amount of 100-hour plus games there are. But the fact there's this, and the sequels come out this year, and it's 27 quid, and maybe I'll get them. I kind of feel like I should buy it on PS5, because if it comes out on Game Pass, if I bought it on Xbox, then the value of that copy will fly right down. Because if I buy it on PS5, if it comes out on Xbox Game Pass, I can sell this.
Don't look at gaming as a marketing, not like a stock market.
I'm just thinking about, you
don't have
cash
to buy low
flow,
and sell
money
high.
in, money out. Anyway, 27 quid. I'm tempted to go back to it.
Sorry, Sean, were you going to say something?
I think I was, but I've forgotten what it was, so you dodged a bullet there.
Good. Okay, Sarah, have you got any other games you've been playing this week?
Yeah, so the other one I picked up this week was A Plague Tale: Innocence, the rat game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the rat game. The rat game.
Yeah, I feel like most people, the moment you go to the rat game, they know exactly what you're talking about, whereas they don't pick up. It was on PlayStation Plus, like the PS5 upgraded version. I'm really enjoying it, and I was kind of skeptical, kind of intrigued, but it was like I got it for free. I needed something to talk about today that wasn't Fortnite, so I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. So basically you play a young sort of teenage girl. It's set in the mid-1300s in France. Basically, she's out in the forest with her dad. Dog dies horribly, is pulled into this pit.
The rats?
You don't see the rats. To be honest, I thought I was going to come onto this podcast and be like, I've not seen the rats yet, but they popped up. But they popped up when I started playing it last night. It's a good couple of hours before you actually kind of see the rats. But yeah, basically there's this mysterious plague. Your parents are killed. You have to look after your sickly younger brother who you've barely seen your entire life because he's got this mysterious illness and he's been kind of squirreled away by the mother while she tries to cure him. And as as the mother dies, she tells you to take the brother to this doctor. So it's you kind of working your way across the sort of French medieval countryside while there's this mysterious plague going on that's kind of turned everyone, all the villagers and like peasants, kind of against each other. And there's also the Inquisition, who are kind of like the army that's trying to come for your brother. And then the other thing you have to deal with is this plague of rats. So it's a stealth game, but also a bit survival horror-y. There's a little bit of combat, but it's very much like you can die in one hit if the rats get you or if the people see you. In terms of how like the gameplay works, it is very throw the thing to distract the people, knock the thing down from the ceiling to get by somewhere. The gameplay feels very, you've played all the mechanics in other games before a million times, but the setting and sort of what it pulls off technically is really, really, really cool. So when the rats turn up, it's basically like this plague of rats, and I don't know if you've ever seen footage of plagues of rats, but it's all...
Sean had them living in his clothes once, right, Sean?
The pile of clothes in where I used to live.
Oh, no.
we all had stories about that.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who went to university, I mean, I've seen rats because I lived at university where rats were some of the housemates.
But so when you get like swarms and plagues of them, they're almost like a liquid. And so basically, as you're kind of making your way through this abandoned church, the walls break and you essentially get like this flood of rats just pouring out of the walls, covering the floor. But you find out that there's literally like, there's thousands of them on screen at once. Like, I need to watch some sort of behind the scenes because the tech behind it, I don't know how they do it, but it's super cool to just see like these thousands and thousands of rats. And they all kind of do this thing. So basically the rats are scared of light. So the way you can get through them without taking damage from them and to be able to kind of make your way around the levels, it's basically things like holding torches, holding sticks and lighting one brazier and then getting to the other one because the rats will move away from light. And it's very cool the way you'll see like the edge of the light from like your torch or whatever, and you'll see like the rats will kind of come up to it and then run back and come up to it and run back. So I don't know whether it's some kind of like water graphical tech that they've edited to be rats instead of water. But that gets really very cool. The lighting tech is beautiful. The setting and like graphically, it's an absolutely stunning looking game. You actually kind of really start to like the younger brother because he's only
that's always hard to do, isn't it? Video games.
Like he's only meant to be, I think maybe 6, like 5 or 6, maybe a little bit older.
The bad period.
Yeah. And he's obviously been, because he's ill, he's been sort of shut away from the world his entire life. So he's very like innocent and naive. And at the beginning of the game, I was like, okay, how long is it going to be before he starts to get annoying? But actually, he's very sweet. He's got this kind of really sweet little innocence. And you're like, you actually kind of really start caring about him. He's just really
the relationship between them two is brilliant. I was like the same, like, oh no, I've got like a little kind of companion. I don't want this to be horrific. But no, the relationship between them two is great. Like when the boy sees something in the environment, and then like at first, like his like sister is kind of reluctant to explain much or help him because I haven't really had a relationship because he's been hidden away. But then that relationship develops through the course of the game, and you can see there is like a bond there, and it's really, really well done.
Yeah, but is it a real 5-year-old where they just keep going, why? Or walking around going, what's that? What's that? What's that? It's a lamppost. Just leave me alone just for 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's on his iPad a lot. Which is like, no, too much screen time. There's some rats to look at.
I want to be a different character. Okay. You launch the game. No, a different one now. For fuck's sake. Oh, God.
But yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, but so you loved this as well, Matt, right? You were a big fan of this game.
Yeah, I loved it because it's essentially trying to do a lot of things that the Uncharted games do. It's got ideas above its station for what is essentially like a AA, indie game. It's fantastic at what it does. It's got loads of great ideas. The story went along a really nice clip, and I thought the writing was really good. And I'm really excited for what they do in the sequel, because this one, I gather this one kind of sold better and did better than they kind of originally anticipated. So I'm excited to see what they do with the next one in terms of maybe they have increased budget or just more people working on it. But no, I really, really like this. I thought it was excellent.
Because it was only a small team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Relatively. It's like 20 odd people or something made this, I think.
Yeah, something like it. So they're a French developer, but yeah,
is it
Asobo,
yeah.
It's surprisingly like grim and like gory and also kind of shockingly brutal in part. So because obviously the plague is making everyone go a little bit loopy.
Mm-hmm.
Relatable.
I was going to say
yeah, I was about to say a lot of the stuff you were saying at the start there.
You see this bit where like someone's been like burnt alive. When you first meet the rats, you're with this very kindly monk who gets like swarmed by the rats, and as you take the torch and start kind of pressing forward, the rats peel back from where the monk was to reveal he's all just kind of been eaten. A lot.
Nice.
The one that was burnt alive, were they trying to get sunlight inside the body?
No, it was kind of like they were infected, so it was like just burn anyone who might have the plague to stop the plague sort of spreading. But then like last night I was playing it and it was back to, because either at the moment, I think the two kind of meet later on, but at the moment it's very much I am either avoiding people or the rats. Not together. So I got back onto a bit last night where you're kind of avoiding like the soldiers. One of them saw me and I tried ran for about 2 seconds before I just get this death animation of when like the girl, she's just been speared with this massive lance.
Oh, Jesus
and it
Christ.
just like thuds into her and it's like game over. And I was like, what? Like it's actually really quite shocking just like how quickly it's like, no, you're dead, which makes sense because she's like a teenage girl trying to get away from like armed soldiers. But I think that's the first time I've had a death in a game just been like, oh shit, this is serious.
Felt like that started with the Tomb Raider reboot, right, where the gory death scene was like a big thing.
Well,
was Last of Us before Tomb Raider reboot?
I'm not sure, but yeah, Last of Us is definitely one that sticks with me.
Because that had the same thing, didn't it? It was like, you're caught, here's a horrific thing to look at before it cuts away.
It wasn't even that.
It wasn't even that like gory or horrific, because as I was kind of running, it was through the long grass that like you hide in, and it was it literally just when Lance thud. Game over screen. Like, it was so quick, it didn't dwell on it. So it was just like, now you're dead, done, try again.
It's so many...
because
Go on, sorry.
I've never been a fan of stealth games. That's what worries me.
This is what intrigues me about this, because on paper, it sounds like it's so many things that most people hate. Right? It's like escort missions and insta-kill stealth. But
how many show titles have we got this week? I mean, there's a few. Instakill Steph. That's
but everyone I know who's played this really loves it.
Yeah, so, that's it, isn't it?
I mean, it's still on.
I don't know if I could deal with the rats though, man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not scared of rats. Like, I'm not. Like, they're not on my phobia list. But
you sound like
just
the
idea of loads of them, just around where you're
pouring
torches and stuff.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
The game, it does manage to do that quite tense, quite icky atmosphere really, really well.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah.
That's what worries me. Okay, cool. So that's a Playtale Innocence. Is that still on PS Plus this month? Is that this month, Matt?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, because
I think it is, isn't it?
I think it's one of July's titles, so it should still be on.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll do mine now. I started Chicory. I'm not that far into it. This is the game that James was talking about. Was it last week? It was the week before, I think. Which is essentially a black and white Zelda style game where you play as the name of your favourite food, which is a little dog. And you get control of Chicory, the wielder's paintbrush. And you walk around painting the black and white town, the colours that you want to. I'm playing on the PlayStation, and as James mentioned, the controls on the PlayStation nowhere near as good as if you had a touch screen or you were playing with mouse and keyboard. It does give you the option of either painting using the right stick, or you can use the touchpad. Actually, James wasn't too keen on the touchpad method, but I that's what I've been using the most, to be honest with you. And I'm really enjoying it, mainly because it's not what I expected it to be at all. Even though James was, he explained it quite well when he was talking about it a couple of weeks ago. It's strange how it goes from, I need to go into every screen and paint, because it is set up like Zelda. It's that isometric view. You're moving from screen to screen and stuff, and every screen is black and white unless you've painted it. So there's no colouring there at all. And I was, I was walking into a screen, painting the whole screen, going on to the next one, painting the whole screen, all the characters, different windows and buildings and roofs and all that sort of stuff. And then I kind of thought, well, this is getting a bit dull now. I don't want to just paint everything. But then realised that it never really asks you to do that. That's not something it asks you to do. You meet a couple of characters and some of them might say, oh no, my house is now black and white. You need to paint it. So you'll paint that to get to the next bit of dialogue or whatever. But then it starts to come out of itself a little bit, and you realise actually it's quite an interesting puzzle exploration game where you've got to get from one side of this barrier to another, and you've got to work out how to do that. And there's various different ways you can add paint to trees to make them bigger while you're standing on them, or you can set up a series of jumps using these sort of, again, these plants that you paint, and once you jump on them, you've got one chance to jump on them, and then you fling yourself to another one and stuff like that. And then I got to the boss fight, and I thought, okay, right, this is absolutely not the game I thought I was letting myself in for. And it happened at just the right time, because just as I was thinking, I don't want to just sit and do this painting mechanic the whole time. I want to do stuff now. Bang! I was in a boss battle. And although I never felt at peril, and it wasn't like a hard boss battle fight or anything, it did just enough to prove that actually this game isn't totally about being creative 100% of the time, and there is actually this pretty cool Zelda game that sits beneath it. And so far, man, I've been really enjoying it. It's, much like you, Matt, I assume you've been playing Zelda with Elodie just watching, right? Or have you been playing?
She's trying to play a bit.
Turns?
But she wants to play a bit, but then like the motion controls even for her aren't great and a bit fiddly. But we're taking
so like Harry has been obsessed with watching me play Chicory. Like every morning he'll ask me to turn it on for a bit while he's getting ready for school or whatever. But I'm excited to play more. I'm not that far in. I'm only on the second chapter. But already the writing, the style, just the feeling of the game feels brilliant so far. So I'm I'm nowhere near a final opinion on it. I'm really excited though, because James has got this down as one of his favourite games of the year. So I'm looking forward to playing more of that. But the other game I've been playing, of course, is Operation Tango, which is what we did a stream of last week. Finally. Oh my! Did you watch the stream, Matt? Did you see any of it?
I didn't watch it live.
You did the highlights video, didn't you?
I caught the last 20 minutes and did the highlights, so I've seen the whole stream. Yeah.
Did you see it, Sean?
I haven't, but because I've bought this and I'm planning on playing it with Chris.
You absolutely shouldn't watch that stream then until you've Oh my god, this was on PS Plus a couple of months ago, and we intended on doing a stream on it not too long. Well, when it come out. But you know what we're like, we're lazy and we never get our arse in gear with stuff. We finally started it, and there's part of me that looks at a game like this. It's essentially it's a two-player co-op game, think in the same sort of vein of It Takes Two, But whereas It Takes Two was a split screen game where you got to see both sides and you're working together cooperatively in that way, this is a little bit more like, what was that bomb game? What's the bomb game, Sean?
Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. Yeah, it's a little bit like that where James can see one screen, I can see another, and I need to know information from his screen, he needs information from my screen, and you've got to talk to each other to get through the game. And there's part of me that's like, it's a bit cheap, because it's always going to be fun, no matter what you're doing, to go, yeah, but what number? Quick, we're running out of time. What number's on your screen? I'm trying to find it. I need to know something from you. And we're just shouting at each other. Yeah. But also, it's so just brilliantly done. Like each little mini game or each little puzzle it's perfectly like pitched to make you argue. I mean, there's a great bit in the stream that we did where we were trying to go from the idea was there was a bunch of rooms in front of you, and me as the player, as the person that was hacking into the building, I had to enter a room, and then there might be 2 or 3 options of other rooms that I could go into, and I had to time when I went into each room based on the drone pattern that James could see on his screen. So he knew where I was, but didn't know, like, he couldn't see what I could see, and he could also see where the drones were, and obviously he's not controlling me, so he had to time it just right to tell me to move into which room to progress to the end. But he sees like a map. He's seeing just like a map of it. He's not seeing the 3D view of it. So there was great bits where he's going, okay, go into the next room. Okay, turn right, going into the next room. And of course his brain just, his commands was focusing on what he was seeing rather than what I was seeing. And he would just go, okay, go up.
Yeah.
And I mean, what do you mean go up? I can't go up. I'm just standing in a room, James. What are you talking about? And of course that's all intentional and it encourages that argument. But we played it for like an hour and a half, and genuinely, I don't think I've laughed so hard. There's been so many moments in it where either I'm getting frustrated with James, or James is getting frustrated with me. At the bit where James is not good under pressure. We all know that. We've all seen it on the show. And I'll take that back. James is excellent under pressure, but it's always unintentional. Do you know what I mean? So if you watch him doing some of the puzzles, the panic in his voice is so perfect that you'll just laugh for hours. And all I'll say is that if you've got a little bit of interest in this game, then definitely check out our stream video on our YouTube page, because you'll get it instantly. You'll know exactly what it's about. Apparently, it's not that long. I'm sure we're going to play it again this week. But my word, I'm surprised there's not more games that do this. And I'll be honest with you, part of me thinks, it's that thing, Sean, that you've said before, where it's like, well, any game in co-op's going to be fun to some level. But I think this does enough to push it beyond just, this is a co-op game. I think it puts you in situations that actually feel way more interesting. I wouldn't say up to the level of It Takes Two. I think that is still a very, very special game. But this one certainly does stuff that game doesn't, because it has the advantage of you seeing 2 different things,
Yeah. It's the fact that you really have to use communication because you can't see what the other one's seeing. And then, like, seeing James trying to work things out on the fly, or hearing him trying to work things out on the fly when you can't see anything is the magic of it, I think.
Oh, God. It's just so funny. Just hearing his voice in a panic when I'm asking him to do anything is just the funniest thing. So I'm well happy I played this. Like, I'm really excited to play again. So this was out on...
I know you mentioned this was on PS Plus. There was another one a few months prior that was I don't think it was a similar thing, but it's a 2-player co-op puzzle thing where you both... I think it's like in the Arctic, and it's like first person, and you basically you can just talk on a radio to each other. And
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. It's like the first episode of a series, and it was on PS Plus. And it looks really good. So that might be a cool one to do after this, like stream it with James.
I'll have a look at that. Because I felt the stream worked really well. It's the first time I come off a stream and actually enjoyed it. In terms of playing a game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like when I stream. I'm not a fan of doing the streams and stuff, the gameplay stuff. But I don't know. I come away from that absolutely belly laughing. I just recommend it if you've got a friend that you're wondering what to play in co-op next. Then definitely look into this. Operation Tango. I think it's available on Xbox, right, Sean?
It is. Yeah. Sort of bought it on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, well worth looking at.
Cool.
But that's been it for me this week. So Sean.
Hello. Just a brief one from me. So I've been out of my house for most of the week due to it getting fully rewired.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I think, like, you know, in my head I was like, yeah, do you know what? It'll be really cool to like play a load of like Apple Arcade stuff, maybe some Switch stuff. And I've just played Bravely Default 2 on the Switch because I found it for £25 from Smith's, which seemed like a bargain. But then it's been a bit of a weird one because it sort of came out and no one seemed to make a big deal about it. Even though like previous ones were considered like, you know, quite a big deal, whereas this one, I don't know, there was like a fair bit of noise leading up to it, and then it just sort of came out and no one seemed bothered, even though the reviews were pretty good. But yeah, so this is not the second Bravely Default game, it's actually the third, because we had Bravely Default, and then we had Bravely Second, and then now we've got Bravely Default 2. Don't know why. But it is a JRPG, and in a lot of ways it's very traditional in terms of the way, you know, running around on a world map doing dungeons and stuff and fighting enemies in a turn-based
Not grinding,
combat system.
is there, Sean?
Well, no.
Not grinding.
No, not much grinding. This is the thing. It's very traditional in a lot of ways, but then, you know, like quite forward-thinking in others. But what's weird about this one is, like, I haven't seen any sort of, you know, mechanical quirks or anything that weren't in the first one on the 3DS years ago. Like, I am really enjoying it. Just to explain quickly to anyone who's not played one of these games before, the main hook of it is that although, yeah, it's typical, you know, JRPG turn-based combat system, it has this thing, the Brave and Default command, where basically you can use several of your turns in one go. But then, like, it takes longer before you're allowed another go. So you're essentially like borrowing, like accruing debt. But like in, like, yeah, each sort of character's turns, or you can default, which basically means to like do a guard, but then it doesn't use a turn, so you can sort of build up credit and then go, right, I've like blocked for 2 turns now I can do like 3 moves in one go and not have to wait for another turn. And it's a really interesting system, but it was really interesting in the first game ages ago. So I don't know. It's like the first one came out and it was like, oh my god, it's the JRPG, but it does all this weird and interesting stuff. And this one is like, it's doing the same interesting stuff. I think I just sort of hoped it was going to do something a bit new and more different. And so far it hasn't. But then, I mean, I'm only like 10 hours in, which obviously in JRPG terms could be absolutely nothing. I should say the voice acting's really good. There's one character in it called Elvis, who is Scottish, and they got an actual Scottish voice actor to voice him, and he must have given them notes on the dialogue because there's lots of like actual Scottish slang in it that is used correctly. I've had this verified by a friend of the show, Cammy Toman. It's like, he's been really pleasantly surprised by it. He's been playing it as well. So that's been pretty nice. Like, I'm having a really good time with it. It's just, as I say, it was just when I played the first Bravely Default, it was like mind-blowing, all this cool and weird, interesting stuff it did. And this, it is not, I mean, it is the same, but it's just the same. It's not doing anything above and beyond what the first game did, as far as I'm aware. But that's basically it for me. It's been a quiet week.
Are you not tempted to play Fantasian on Apple Arcade?
I am, actually. I've had it installed for ages.
I've also got it installed, but haven't got around to playing it yet.
Yes, mate.
Yeah,
High five.
I love that.
Yeah, because you really loved that, didn't you, Matt? That was
at some point when it comes out. I think it's later this year, but you're waiting for part 2 of that. Waiting for part 2 of remake, of Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, that's going to be a while.
Yeah, many years.
All right, should we get to questions?
Yeah. If you want to
before
contact
we
us,
melt.
Yeah, go
I think I already have.
Yeah.
How long have we been going for?
A Marty McFly while he was playing that song in the kitchen.
If you want to contact us, you can go to tcgs.co/Dear TCGS. Brad from Iowa says, my car has a backup camera, which presumably is there to help me.
Well, I love if that was the end of it. It's just a little bit of a humble brag there. Yeah. My car has a backup camera. Goodbye.
Which is presumably there to help prevent me from running over any kids as I back out of my driveway. Every morning, right before I reach the end of the driveway, my phone connects to my car via Bluetooth, and a big notification takes up the top third of the screen that says, Bradley's iPhone connected, rendering the backup cam useless for about 3 seconds. So I have 2 questions. 1, why does Hyundai want to harm children? And 2, what's the worst UI you have to deal with outside of video games? Appreciate y'all.
Oh my God, the worst UI that I have to deal with outside of video games.
I've got one. It's incredibly petty, but then I feel like that's just where we are with this question. So on the iPad, when I go to, you can like send. So in Chrome, you can send like whatever page you're looking at. You can send it to like other devices that you're logged in to with the same Google account, right?
Yeah.
So I use it to send like links to my phone quite a lot. The little window that pops up, it has like my phone and then my computer. And then the actual button that says send to your device, you have to scroll down to see it. It's like, just make the window a tiny bit bigger. And then I could just press the button. It annoys the fuck out of me.
That's horrendous.
It is horrendous.
Google.
Someone should go to prison.
I've got really, really boring answer for you for this one.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to top mine, Dave.
I think it might do.
Okay.
When Windows introduced this ribbon thing at the top of instead of just having icons everywhere or where you want them, they introduce this ribbon thing at the top.
Yeah.
Well, Autodesk has suddenly decided that they want to do that with AutoCAD, and it is so frustrating. I mean, I don't use it now. I've modded it so that I can go back to classic mode or whatever, but you're trying to use that thing, and it's like, you're just putting things that were on the screen behind several clicks now. There's no need for this. It's ridiculous. So no, I told you, it was pretty boring.
Yeah.
But I don't know, outside of that, obviously, I'm still blown away by how car UI things are that bad. They're all pretty awful, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you buy a cheap, like we got one of those kids Amazon Fire tablets, right? And they're totally fine. I mean, they're not amazing, obviously. They're only about 150 quid, but they're fine. They do a job.
The kids ones are like 60 quid, aren't they?
I was going to say, I got LED a 40 quid one, and it was so bad we sent it back. It was just so slow.
Yeah, I mean, if you got 40 quid or whatever. But
but that's how much like the debate. Maybe it's on like Prime Day, whatever it was, but like the cheaper like Fire tablets are super cheap these days. But wait, it's just rubbish.
But you get into like even a modern, recently built car, and you look at they've got the touch screens on them or whatever, and you just think, Jesus, who designed this? It's ridiculous. Yeah, they cars have got a long way to go before they get all that stuff right. I'll tell you that. Anyway, welcome to Top Gear.
I've definitely got a bad UI. If we want to bring it back to that,
yeah, let's bring it back to the question. Dan.
I think it's going to be the most boring one out of all the boring ones so far. So on Netflix when you go to search and it has all the letters in like a nice like 9x9 grid.
Oh my god, yeah.
Then you go on Amazon and they're just in a line.
Yeah, 100%.
That. And it doesn't even do the thing, when you get, in a lot of things, when you get to the end of the line and you press like right again and it will take you back to the beginning of the line. It doesn't do that. So you have to just scroll all the way back. I hate it so much.
Is it, which one is it? It's either Netflix or Amazon that do it where it's like, whoa, unless you do the title exactly how we've got it in our system, then you ain't finding it. You are nerd.
It must be Amazon because Netflix is absurd. Yeah, because with Netflix, it's like you start typing a name of a film in, and it'd be like they might not even have that film, but they'll be like, "Well, here's another one with the same main actor in it, or whatever."
But it always does
my nut in. I'm like, brilliant! You've got the one. You must have it because I've started typing it, and you've got the exact. Oh no, it's just people search this film that everyone wants. Yeah. Here's some knockoff DVD, straight to DVD version instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you want Interstellar? How about Space, the movie? No, I don't want that.
Yeah, I think it must be Amazon. Well, one of them that we use, you go to type the title in, and it's just like, no, you didn't put the at the end of it. It's like the IT guy from The Office. You didn't quite get the title of that right, and I'm going to highlight that by not letting you watch it.
I mean, and more broadly as well, on the on-screen keyboard thing, why do they all have the letters in alphabetical order? Give me a fucking QWERTY keyboard.
Oh yeah, do a QWERTY, note ABCs. What?
Give us the layout everyone's used to.
The big problem,
well, not everyone.
The big problem with apps that do that is that, especially if you're using them on the PS5 or the Xbox, they don't use the sort of system, the OS level keyboard. You just think, if you could do that, I can just connect with my phone and search it on that.
Yeah.
But instead now I've actually got to use your shitty little system of going through letters. It is usually the letter thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's usually that.
Yeah.
Or I'll tell you another one. This is another bad one. but cash points. You know the ones with the touch screen on them?
Mm-hmm.
How you have to recalibrate where your finger, you think, I'll just push that number there. Oh no, it's press the one down and to the left. So that means I've got to now aim up and to the right every time I want to press a key to type something in. Fuck that.
I don't think I've ever used a touchscreen cash point in my life.
I think they probably got rid of them now, COVID and that. But yeah, they used to have them. It was, they were an absolute nightmare.
I haven't got cash out for ages, but you've never used like a touchscreen cash point?
No. I mean, I've used plenty of cash points, but I've never used a touchscreen cash point.
Oh,
I love the way Matt's like accusing you of lying.
You can still find it.
I think it's more a comment on the types of places I frequent and would be getting cash out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Oh God, of course, yeah. The self-service tills sometimes as well. Which one was the Wilco's did it right? Where because just when COVID, when they went just after the first lockdown, they decided that actually we're going to have less staff in the store, obviously, because businesses and that. And but they didn't invest in a self-checkout system. So what they did is they just turned the tills around and sort of sellotape the scanner to the side of it.
No.
And there was someone there just going, just
have a go.
Just scan there. And then, you got to type that number in and then press enter. And it was like, this is not how this should be done at all.
And you need a fob. And
here you go. Here's my login info.
Yeah, here's your name badge. Please put this on.
Here's your uniform.
Yeah, while you're here, just do everyone else behind you. We'll let you go. We'll let you go at 6:30.
Yeah,
we'll bring one of those trolleys over.
Another lunch.
Load of boxes on.
Yeah, while you're at it, put these away.
You've got to get us the cash and put it in those tube things that go somewhere.
This is a customer announcement. Please clean the aisles. You're like, I've got to do this now. Oh my God, that's the one. Right, okay, that's the answer to this question.
Okay, go on.
Did you ever go into pound shops? They had a period of it, I don't know if they still do it, where they got wacky characters to do the self-service voices.
No. Yeah.
And it was like, hey, baby, you want to scan this? And you're going,
my God.
God. And then you'd hear it.
Because it was Elvis.
That was Elvis, apparently, yeah.
I don't know why it was Elvis. There was no explanation as to why all their self-service tills were Elvis for a little while.
You can kind of understand it at Christmas when it was Santa.
Yeah.
But the problem was, because there's about 80 of them next to each other, you would hear it echoing around your brain for the 30 seconds you were standing there. That is the worst. That was the worst thing they've ever done, and I think they still do it. So that's my answer.
That's not even UI.
It's not, is it?
Dave.
But let's not get
really
bogged down in
David.
the technicals.
It's that bad that we had to include it.
Really.
I
think we've answered that more than enough.
Yeah, I think that's more than Brad from Iowa I could ever could have dreamed for.
A bunch of shops he's never heard of.
Next question comes from Iwa Woo Woo. He says, question for Matt. At a hefty 669 grams, do you want to go in with me on a Kickstarted project for a knee tripod for the Gabe Boy, i.e. the Steam Deck?
I am tempted. I'm going to think about that and get back to you. I am tempted, but no.
Interesting.
Is that
Can you
really
not just get
how
one of
much
them
it weighs?
gooseneck things? Sorry, Sarah, go on.
Is that really how much it weighs?
669 grams. Yeah, apparently, yeah.
It's heavy. It is heavy.
Do you reckon it was
So
700?
heavy.
And they went, listen, that's taking the piss.
670. Yeah.
Let's knock a little bit off. Let's get 31 grams off that bad boy.
Lars Hedderdam says, last week, Maria asks, as always, a brilliant question about the Metroid mechanics of having all your buffs taken away early. It made me think, are there any games out there which start you off as a character in good fighting condition with a set enemy level/strength, and then slowly, mission through mission, takes abilities away, i.e. losing a leg and getting a peg makes you slower? Weird example. This would be a kind of opposite leveling scenario where the player behind the screen is expected to become better, but with fewer and fewer attributes available. This has been done. I can't remember what it was called. There's like a 1-bit Metroidvania game.
Yeah, it's called Peggle. Because the peg, no, forget it. It's a great idea, actually. So you think a game has done it, Sean?
Yeah, there's definitely one. I mean, there's probably more, but yeah, there's one I can think of, but I can't remember the title, so I should have just kept my mouth shut, really. Didn't sort of unintentionally Dark Souls 2, because didn't it sort of, it would match make you, like in terms of invasions and stuff, it had that stat, didn't it, that was like your total souls collected, but then that didn't take into account how many of those souls you'd lost. So you could end up being really shit at the game and amassing shitloads of souls, but not actually spending most of them. And it would then matchmake you with people who are actually really fucking good and had collected the same amount of souls, but actually spent more of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was one way that especially like if you were worse at the game, it actually sort of made it harder for you in a sense. That's not quite what Lars is talking about, is it?
I mean, it sounds like a great concept for a game, actually.
It does.
Way more exciting than a standard one of you get more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who wants to get less powerful as you play a game?
Well, no, because it means you need to be more skillful with what you do.
But no one wants to do that. Who'd want to do that?
It could be a really
starting out
cool
really powerful,
thing,
like getting through it, and
it's
just getting harder just because it's taking abilities away.
But like towards the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, spoilers. Actually, no, I can be vague enough. There's just like a one bit in particular where it's just like, man, Snake is old as fuck. And he's not doing good.
Look, I get that, but that was a very specific part of that game. We're talking progressively getting worse through taking stuff away from you. I think no one wants to do that. Fuck that. You want to get better and better.
Yeah.
Surely, isn't that the whole point?
Yeah.
What's that beat 'em up game coming out for PS5? The brawler.
Is it?
I don't know.
Sifu?
Yes.
Sifu, yeah. Because that could possibly do the same thing.
Because you get older every time you lose, don't you?
You get older every time you die.
Yeah.
So maybe that's going down that concept. I just can't imagine playing a game where it's just like, look at all the cool shit you can do. Yeah, we're just going to tick the wee.
The thing is,
I can live
getting
with
older
it.
Is that I mean, I don't know how the game really works, but they could have it so the older you get, you would have learnt more moves, but maybe have like less
that's
health
where they're going down.
So okay, well actually, as like a 80-year-old dude or whatever it is, I know way more moves, way more. I'm able to counter many more moves, but I got less of a got less health to deal with.
Health bar,
it sounds really interesting. Actually.
But I've got to go collect my pension, and I've got other things to do.
I've lost my hip.
There's a Heartbeats on later, and I want to see what happened to green grass this week. Okay, sorry.
Sid Meier's Pirates, your character got worse with age, but it never just went like, oh right, you're too old now, you're dead. Like it just sort of, I think it just made like the quick time events, like the timing was trickier or something. I can't remember, but it's quite a minor difference, I think. Maria Mendieta says, dear TCGS Kojimas, when Nintendo wanted to introduce its platinum version of the GameCube, the company went all in with a massive Hollywood party. Colin Farrell was there, Leonardo DiCaprio made an appearance, and Christina Aguilera arrived in a Baker Boy hat clasping a smart platinum GameCube by its handle. Quote, I've got a purple GameCube at home, she remarked, but I am dying for the new platinum GameCube. To recapture
dying for it.
Yeah. I hope that's a real thing. To recapture that unbridled enthusiasm that defined 2002, which celebrity would you choose to walk a red carpet carrying either the PS5 or the Xbox Series X as a PR stunt? Thank you for keeping the laughter alive.
So, I mean, I've only got an answer for the PS5, but it would have to be like The Rock or John Cena, because the moment you make any normal-sized human carry the PS5, everyone will realise just how stupidly big that thing is, and no one will want them. You can't give it to a normal-sized person.
Yeah, but is there anyone on the planet that can make that thing look all right? I don't think there is there?
Shaq?
Shaq? Lady Gaga? Yeah. I mean, she wears the costumes and the clothes she wears are quite wacky, isn't it? She'd get away with that.
But, she's got to be carrying it though, and she's quite small.
Oh, that's true.
That's the problem. No, she could ride it in. Just
just put a couple of wheels on it.
Yeah, put wheels on the bottom of it.
I think for the PS5, get Grace Jones to do it. She can probably have like an outfit that sort of has like a big collar, like the flaps on the PS5, and I reckon she'd be able to carry it. No bother.
Yeah. Sean, you got an answer?
That was my answer, Dave. I just answered.
Oh, right. Ben Shepard. Ben Shepard for me. Why not? Give him something to do for a bit.
Yeah.
Get him off the main telly for a little bit.
Keep him in work.
It's just bland as fuck. Like, what's that going to add? Down the red carpet?
Yeah. Just this big smile and that. He's all right, Ben Shepard. Don't have a pop at him. What you got a problem with him for?
Just like, you might also had the PlayStation on a Perspex like bit of what's the point? It's adding nothing to a red carpet event. Oh, Ben Shepard's here. Oh, but it's a PlayStation 5.
And it'd be like, oh, I love the PlayStation that. And you go, well, good on you, Ben. Good on you. Oh, thanks for being here today.
Should I know who Ben Shepard is?
You never watched Tipping Point?
Good Morning Britain? I think it's done that.
Tipping Point, that's it.
Yeah, no, I know who he is now.
The one Google.
He's really not that remarkable.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Just him walking around. Good on you, Ben Shepard. You don't listen to it. I know he's a big fan of this show.
Yeah.
So I apologise for Matt. We're going to have words with him afterwards. Bang out of order, Matt. Go on, pick someone more exciting then. Go on. Good luck trying to find someone more exciting than Ben Shepard. Go on.
It's just that, I heard 2002, so I just thought the boy band 911.
Okay.
But, I mean, maybe I misread the question. I thought, okay, who's someone cool on 2002? So I've gone for the boy band 911. Maybe that's back five.
I don't think they have to be from 2000. I assume they're celebrities from now, given that they're holding a PS5 or an Xbox Series X.
No, I'm thinking like 911 went back in time.
We're like time travel now.
Wait, they went back in time from 2002 to 2021.
That was the only dates they had the option of going back and forth from.
Did they just keep going back so far they got to the end of the line and actually flipped back round to come to now?
Yeah,
but now time is going backwards. Like
time is a flat circle.
I don't know what the phrase is.
Science with Matthew Murray. Time is a flat circle or whatever.
That's a show title.
I think it's it. Yeah, I think it is.
That's a saying. Time's a flat circle.
I know.
Is it? Oh yeah. I hear that all the time, mate. I was watching Catchphrase the other day, and that was on Catchphrase, wasn't it? Ben Shepard was presenting that as well.
They kept saying it on Swimming the other day. Can we have a YouTube series where Matt just explains like physics concepts?
No.
And stuff?
Oh my god,
let's not.
I think that'd be good. And it has to be in your own words. You can't just read it. We'll know if you're just reading it from something.
Oh god, how good would that be? A separate series where Matt has to just explain physics.
But make it a video series where you can have props and like a blackboard to further illustrate the theories.
And there's only one person in the audience, and it's Professor Brian Cox.
Yes, okay, I'm in.
Just gritting his teeth the whole time.
Or Neil deGrasse Tyson, but maybe he's doing audio.
Brian Cox going, well, yeah, no, time is a flat circle. That's right, yeah. I mean, no, you got me there.
We've not heard that saying before. It's a thing.
No, what happens when you Google time is a flat circle?
It is a saying.
Meaning.
I mean, not.
Well, there's a GIF of it.
Oh, well, there you go.
And
it's the same. It is a fucking.
Is it the boy band 911 travelling back in time so far that they get to the modern day? Is that the gift?
No, it's a man crushing a beer can. So let's move on to the next question, Sean.
Infinite Fun Space says, why do I buy useless things like games I never get around to playing and not useful things like an air conditioner?
I'll tell you why. I love this because I hear this so much, right? People in England going, I wish I had air conditioning. What, for the 2 days a year it's like this? Like it literally
it's
2 days.
It's going to get worse every
You've still
year.
got to maintain that thing. It's ridiculous.
The thing that I can't, like with air conditioners, like I would like one, but I just know that by getting one and using it, I'm hastening the problem that I bought the air conditioner to fix. You know what I mean?
Hey, man. You're so thoughtful. Yeah, I love how you care about the environment. We've got it in our office, and it's the best thing ever. But it just sits there for the rest of the year, doing absolutely nothing. Yeah. It's yeah. Don't worry about it. Just get the fan on, sweat through it, and we'll all be complaining about how cold it is in a couple of weeks. Don't you worry about it.
Can't wait.
Do you ever get that thing in summer where you just like, why the fuck do I own coats? What are they for?
Yeah, I think of that all the time. Like, I walk into work and I'm kind of like, I remember the amount of times I walk to work thinking I'm frozen and I can't even imagine that feeling right about now.
Yeah.
I can't feel my toes.
Another lifetime.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool. Matt, let's get the socials done.
Yeah, so you and James, are you going to be playing Operation Tango on Thursday at 9?
I don't know. We ain't spoken about it. Probably. I've put the night aside, so we'll see.
Hell. Well, okay, maybe there'll be a stream Thursday at 9. If you missed their last stream, please go over to our YouTube channel, search TCGS, and watch both the full stream and the highlights. It's a great stream. But yeah, maybe Thursday at 9. They're on twitch.tv/TCGSco. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime Gaming, and with it, you get one free subscription every single month. And we'd love it if you want to have our channel, give it to us. We really appreciate it. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/TCGS for exclusive podcasts, live talks overs, and all sorts of stuff. It's all over on there. And tcgs.co is the website where there's links to our social channels and our beautiful Discord as well.
Sarah, thank you so much for being James Farley's replacement this week.
You're very welcome.
That sounds like she's permanently
you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, James is sweating now. When he hears this episode, he's like,
I didn't think this was going to go well. Fucking hell.
Him entering the Discord next week and everyone just going quiet. Oh, James, you're back. It was like the time. This is genuinely true. When we were doing JoyPod before this, James was supposed to be the third member of JoyPod, but then he went away and lived in China for a bit. And when he come back to join the show, Sean was on it. It was a little bit awkward, wasn't it, Sean?
Yeah,
I mean, not for you. You didn't know him, but for me, it was very awkward.
Yeah, because I remember when I started JoyPod and people were like, oh, it's the new James Farley. And I'm like, oh, who's that?
Well, that's what people are going to be saying in a couple of years' time. Don't worry about it. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Where can people find you?
That
sounds sinister.
Assuming you want them
just
to.
a little bit.
I'm not going to bloody well tell him.
Keep it a mystery.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Pika Pies, and then
that's true. We had a whole discussion about that, so there's no hiding it now, I suppose.
Yeah. Twitter's the only one I do anything with these days. I'm on Twitch under that, but I cannot remember the last time I streamed on there. I should fix that.
Cool. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week for some more video game chat. Thank you so much for living it. We'll see you later. Goodbye. We love you. Goodbye.
Cheerio.
Bye.